All right, call to order the Beverages Licensing Authority hearing for Wednesday, February 19th, 2025 at 3 p.m.
Thank you. I will begin with sharing the instructions for virtual hearing and rules of decorum. I'm just going to share my screen. The city has engaged with community members to co-create a vision for productive, meaningful, and inclusive civic conversations. This vision supports physical and emotional safety for community members, staff, and board and commission members, as well as democracy for people of all ages, identities, lived experiences, and political perspectives. More about this vision and the project's community engagement process can be found on our website, bouldercolorado.gov. The following are examples of rules of decorum found in the Boulder Revised Code and other guidelines that support this vision. These will be upheld during this meeting. All remarks and testimony shall be limited to matters related to city business. No participant shall make threats or use other forms of intimidation against any person. Obscenity, racial epithets, and other speech and behavior that disrupts or otherwise impedes the ability to conduct the meeting are prohibited. Participants are required to sign up to speak using the name they are commonly known by, and individuals must display their whole name before being allowed to speak online. Currently, only audio testimony is permitted online for general public comment. The chat function should only be used for technical questions to staff, and it should not be used for public comments. And that is the Q&A function in this case. If you have a technical question, please go ahead and put that in the Q&A. Otherwise, it's not to be used for public comments. Okay, next we will move on to roll call. If you'll just speak your presence aloud. Chair Matt Califano.
Chair Califano present.
Thank you. Member Mike Absalom.
Member Absalom present.
Thank you. Member Brendan Haggerty.
Member Haggerty present.
Member Leah Roberts.
Member Roberts present.
Thank you so much. And the member card did let me know that he will be about 30 minutes late, so he'll come as soon as he can. Next, we have approval of Beverage Licensing Authority minutes from January 15th, 2025.
Did any members have any edits to those? Not seeing any. Is there a motion? Member Califano would move to approve the minutes as is.
Member Absalom seconds that motion.
Strager, did you have something?
Nope.
Oh, great. All right, all in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Thank you so much. Next, we have agenda item 1V, which is hearing agenda issues from the licensing clerk. And I'm going to hand this one over to Roberto so he can bring something to the board.
Thank you. Members of the BLA, while I do not know the specifics, we, as in your staff, were informed that there is a request for a summary suspension hearing concerning one of your licensees, Chicken on the Hill. So we will hold a hearing, and I think Chair Califano has the details as far as how we're going to conduct the hearing. But again, I do not know the nature of the allegations, only that they refer to violations of our code. So we will proceed with that because this is a summary suspension, and if founded, I will need to start working on an order as we progress through this hearing.
Great, so I will go ahead and read the proceedings into the record. The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether Chicken on the Hill, who currently holds the liquor license, should have that license suspended for up to 15 days for either violating the law or because there is a threat to public health. I note that no notice was provided to licensee as the suspension is a summary suspension hearing and no notice is required pursuant to 10-3-3 of our rules of procedure. The BLA will allow the prosecution to put on whatever evidence it believes is necessary. Once that happens, the BLA will deliberate to determine two issues. One, whether there is reasonable grounds to believe that the licensee is guilty of a deliberate and willful violation of any application, law, or regulation pursuant to 10-3-1. And two, whether there is reasonable grounds to believe that the public health, safety, or welfare imperatively requires emergency action pursuant to 10-3-2. So at this point, I will go ahead and turn it over to the city prosecutor.
Good afternoon, members of the BLA. My name is Chris Reynolds. I'm a deputy city attorney in the city attorney's office, and I work over in the prosecution section. At this time, I'd call Officer Leah Reck of the Boulder Police Department as my witness.
Great.
And yeah. Officer Reck, if you would, I guess Chair Califano, would you mind perhaps swearing her in?
Yeah, Caitlin, can we get her sworn in?
Absolutely. Officer Reck, if you'll raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give before the Beverage Licensing Authority are true and correct? Thank you. And then if you'll just give your full name and position for the record as well.
Yep, my name is Leah Reck, RECH, and I'm a police officer with the city of Boulder.
Officer Reck, it's a little hard to hear you.
Oh, gosh, okay, let me see if I can get my.
That's okay.
We just had to move to a new office, so is that any better?
There you go. That's better.
Okay. You want me to do that again, or did you hear that?
Yeah, if you'll just say your name and position one more time.
Okay, I'm Officer Leah Reck, RECH, with the City of Boulder Police Department.
Good afternoon, Officer Reck.
Hi.
Officer Reck, I know that the BLA is familiar with you, but we got to build a record here. What do you do?
Right now, I'm currently the alcohol enforcement officer for the police department.
And how long have you been the alcohol enforcement officer for the Boulder Police Department?
I am on my second year, so for a year and 2 months.
And what are some of your common duties as an alcohol enforcement officer?
I take, I guess I should say, I enforce the liquor laws within our liquor license establishments. I meet with officers who share concerns or questions that they have about establishments or liquor within the city of Boulder.
And are you familiar with a liquor establishment commonly known as Chicken on the Hill?
Yes, I am.
And do they have a hotel restaurant type liquor license?
Yes, they do.
And is there a legal entity known as the Panko Corporation?
That is correct.
And is there a liquor license number 03-16109?
Yes.
And is Chicken on the Hill operating in the city of Boulder, state of Colorado?
Yes, they are.
Can you tell the members of the BLA, how is it that you are familiar with Chicken on the Hill?
I'm familiar with Chicken on the Hill. One, because they're one of the, like I said, the liquor license establishments within the city. I've responded to calls for service there as well as met with the owner. But most recently, it's been a lot of calls for service from my coworkers.
And so what sort of incidents generated these calls for service?
So over the past year, we've had probably 58 calls for service there. And there's a plethora of calls there that happen, and it can be, calls from IV disputes to burglaries to medical calls to just officer initiated contacts to noise complaints and things like that.
And just backing up a little bit, what does call for service mean?
That is when and it can be, like I said, officer initiated or a community member or maybe even an employee of an establishment, a citizen, they call into our dispatch and request a call, a police officer respond, or some type of a response, whether it be a phone call or an officer in person.
And in your position as the alcohol enforcement officer for the Boulder Police Department, are you concerned with what's been going on at Chicken on the Hill?
I'm very concerned.
Why is it that you're concerned?
Based upon the types of calls that have been coming in and the documentation that I have seen from the officers, it seems like a pretty big safety concern to not only the patrons, the employees, the citizens, the officers.
And now I'm going to walk you through, or you're going to walk the board through some of these incidents that you've been referring to. And about how far back would you say like good documentation from officers goes with regards to incidents at Chicken on the Hill?
So when I started I started hearing from officers probably in the fall, the name kept coming up. And so I asked the officers to start documenting these calls. Because I wasn't there at night, they're the ones who are there experiencing it, handling those calls. So around September is when I started getting a lot of these calls, whether it was in a case report or whether it was an email or whether it was verbal. But that's when I started getting those calls coming to me that we documented.
Are you familiar with an incident that occurred at Chicken on the Hill on September 13th of last year?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell the BLA a little bit about that incident?
Absolutely. So on September 13th, and I'm going to review to some of my notes, if that's okay. On September 19th, Officer Diaz and Officer Nettles responded to a medical call up on the hill. And it was a 19-year-old female that had been overserved at Chicken on the Hill. She was lying on the sidewalk directly in front of the business. And so this is all, I was watching their body worn camera. I just want to make sure that that I am explaining where I saw, why I'm saying I observed. So in the body worn camera footage, I saw the unconscious female. She was on the floor. There was the owner of the establishment, Jared, who I know as Jared Wu, was outside along with a couple of his security personnel who he'd hired. And then there was another female and then two other males standing with the unconscious girl. And after some investigation, the officers learned that she was 19 years old and that she had got in with a fraudulent ID, as were the three people who were around her. They were also 19 years old and had made it into Chicken on the Hill with their fraudulent IDs. She had 2 shots before she even entered, two shots of alcohol. Let me clarify that. And I do not know what type of alcohol that was prior to going over to the establishment. And when she was there, she had consumed 4 shots and 2 beers. So I reached out to Jared and I asked him for the video footage of that incident. And I was able to see that at 11:54, she entered into Chicken on the Hill on her own accord. And then 1 hour and 16 minutes later is when the medical call came in where she was unconscious out front. So her, the witnesses or her friends are the ones who said, yes, she drank while inside in 1 hour and less than 1 hour and 16 minutes, 4 shots and 2 beers. She was also transported to Boulder Community Hospital where she was put on an alcohol hold until she was able to care for herself.
Are you familiar with an incident that occurred at Chicken on the Hill on October the 4th of 2024?
Yes, that incident, I received an email from Officer Stevens, who's one of our neighborhood impact team members. So what that means is that's his area, that's his assigned district. He said he was contacted, or he contacted a very intoxicated female tonight who admitted that she was consuming alcohol at Chicken on the Hill at 19 years old. She was taken again to BCH by AMR. AMR is our ambulance service. You couldn't find a fake ID on her, but her friends that were with her admitted that they were consuming alcohol at Chicken on the Hill. Again, she was 19 years old, passed out and vomiting when the officer made contact with her.
And Officer Reck, are you familiar with an incident that occurred on October the 12th of 2024?
Yes.
A chicken on the hill.
I'm sorry, didn't cut you off there. On October 12th, Officer Diaz wrote an email to me that they were called to a sorority house on an intoxicated female, and this is around 3 o'clock in the morning. She was being held up by some of her sorority sisters and vomiting into a bucket. She was unconscious, in and out of consciousness, I should say. She was 19 years old. Her brother showed up at the sorority house and admitted that they were consuming alcohol. First, at one other liquor establishment that they ended up finishing up, I guess you could call it, at Chicken on the Hill. She did have a fake ID on her, which the officer collected and is in evidence. She was transported to Boulder Community Hospital.
In the last 3 incidents, these are all, is it accurate that these are all different 19-year-old females? Because they've all
Yes.
not the same person. Okay. Are you familiar with an incident that occurred on November the 3rd of last year at Chicken on the Hill?
Yes, on this incident on November 3rd, I was alerted by 2 other officers, Officer Johnson and Helmy, who were just on a foot patrol in the alley behind Chicken on the Hill, where they observed a male who was standing there, and he went to lean up against a vehicle and he fell over. So they made contact with him, and after their investigation, as they were talking with him, he was stumbling, he was slurring his words, he had an odor of alcohol coming from his breath. They finally discovered that he was 19 years old, and that he admitted to consuming alcohol at Chicken on the Hill.
And Officer Reck, in your job as the alcohol enforcement officer, in talking to officers and community members, reviewing reports and the such, is it your opinion that Chicken on the Hill is kind of known amongst the young people here in Boulder as a place that's easy to get served if you're underage?
Yes, and that actually comes up in one of the calls, another one of the calls that we took more recently, that that information was freely given to an investigator, that's the known information amongst the college kids, that's one of the establishments to go to get in very easily to consume alcohol.
And are you familiar with an incident that occurred on November 22nd at Chicken on the Hill last year?
Yeah, this is where Officer Stevens, he's again the neighborhood impact team officer. This was about 1:25 in the morning on the 22nd. He said that he came across an unconscious female in front of Chicken on the Hill. She had been served at Chicken on the Hill. She used a fake ID to get in. And then I actually reached out to that female a couple days later and asked her a little bit more about what happened since she was transported to the hospital. And she admitted that she, along with 4 of her friends, 3 of her friends, nope, it was 4 of her friends, all 18 years old, had got into Chicken on the Hill with her IDs. She said that she purchased a Red Bull and vodka from upstairs and felt sick within about 15 minutes. And then she said she doesn't remember anything until she woke up in the ER. And I also did speak with her dad later, and they said that they didn't do any blood work. They did just to make sure that she wasn't slipped any drugs or anything. The hospital did not do any blood work. They did not think that she had been slipped any drugs or to cause her to go unconscious so quickly.
Thank you. And then on December 8th of last year, are you familiar with an incident at Chicken on the Hill?
Yeah, another officer, Officer Prince, took a phone report from a 17-year-old female who told her that she and her other friend from high school, who was 17 years old, had consumed a shot of tequila while at Chicken on the Hill. They were both able to get into the establishment with their fake IDs. After consuming the tequila shot, she went back to her dorm where she felt extremely sick and asked for an ambulance to be called, where she was transported to East Beach, where they did some further testing again to make sure that to verify if she had been slipped any sort of drugs. Based upon, unfortunately, we don't have the results of that back because CBI, it takes them about a year to get back drug information on a case like this. So we won't know that, but again, 17-year-old female along with her 17-year-old friends consuming tequila at Chicken on the Hill.
Then moving into this year, on January 16th of this year, are you familiar with something that occurred at Chicken on the Hill?
Yes, this is a call where an officer was doing some patrols, and he noted a very large crowd in front of Chicken on the Hill, out to the street, large, like almost looked like you guys should call the mall crawl. I call it the mall crawl. It was a lot of people in front of the business waiting to get in. And so he stopped and he was trying to tell people that they needed to leave the area and nobody was listening. So he called for some cover officers to respond. 9 officers responded to try to get that crowd under control. So that they could, we could have the sidewalk back. And most of the officers were there for about an hour. This is also the call, and if you want, can talk about the walkthroughs that were conducted at that time. Another officer reported to me that he was one of the 9 officers that had responded to that call, and he was monitoring from afar. And so there were so many people waiting to get in that people inside the establishment couldn't get out. The doors opened towards the outside, so there's 2 glass doors that open out. And because of the crowd standing outside, the patrons that were inside couldn't get out. So they were stuck. So the officers had to get in there and get the crowd under control so that the people inside the establishment could get out if they wanted. During that walkthrough, another officer was advised, and he wrote a report about this too, that as soon as they got inside, he immediately contacted a kid who was 19 years old drinking alcoholic beverage. He seized his fake ID, issued a ticket. I'm trying to read the rest of this report. This one's a long one. Let's see here. He said that they conducted a walkthrough in hopes of thinning out the crowd inside. It was extremely crowded in there. He said just as, make sure I'm getting this one correctly. Yeah, so this is a call where they had to talk to the owner. They told him, we're not shutting your business down, but you need to get this under control. There was a lot of people. He said he estimated over 100 students were in line. And I'm trying to find the number where it was inside. I think at that point that it was thinning up inside. Based upon that call and that information that I got, I think that was a pretty huge officer safety concern to me. I asked the sergeant who's in charge of that neighborhood impact team to conduct some walkthroughs at the liquor licensed establishments on the Hill, and not just that one, but all of them, just to kind of get an idea about what's going on.
And Officer Reck, in the report of the January 16th large crowd at Chicken on the Hill, what was dangerous about the large crowd? Were people falling over or anything like that?
Yes, I apologize. That was the other thing that was reported, was the crowd was, if you will, swaying back and forth. So the people in the back were pushing the people towards the front. A couple of people had fallen down and were stepped on. And that's, again, why there were so many officers there to try to get that crowd under control and make sure that everybody was safe. Again, it took quite some time to get the crowd dispersed enough to where it was safe.
What is does Chicken on the Hill have a posted occupancy inside the premises?
Yeah, inside, and that is something that I learned after I asked for those walkthroughs. I specifically asked the officers to look for posted occupancy signs, and inside the door they have an occupancy sign posted up too.
Officer Reck, are you familiar with an incident that occurred at Chicken on the Hill on January 28th of this year?
on January 20.
Mr. Reynolds, I don't think the audio caught the answer to Officer Rex answer to your question as far as the specific number.
I'll ask it. I think I heard it, but I'll ask it again. Officer Reck, what was you were talking about occupancy. And my question was, is there a sign inside of Chicken on the Hill that states the maximum occupancy?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, the posted occupancy inside the door is, what is written on the wall is 74. I'm sorry, 72.
So 72 is on the sign inside of Chicken on the Hill.
Correct.
Is that accurate? Thank you. And so moving on to the next incident here, January 28th of this year. Are you familiar with an incident at Chicken on the Hill?
Yes, this is actually CUPD's case. And this is, it's currently an open investigation, so there's not a lot of information that can be shared. It's dealing with an 18-year-old female and a 19-year-old female who were consuming alcohol at Chicken on the Hill. And there was an assault that occurred afterwards. So the investigator is trying to get additional information about the individuals that had gone into the business that night, and there's not a lot of records there. So that's, again, an ongoing investigation right now, but it was dealing with an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old female who are consuming alcohol.
And the nature of that assault, is it like a third-degree assault?
It's a sex assault.
And I know that you have limited information, but the information that you've been able to review from the University of Colorado Police Department, how is it that they were able to gain access to Chicken on the Hill?
They had fake IDs that they used. Those haven't been recovered, but they admitted to that.
And are you familiar with any statements that they made in terms of why they chose to go to Chicken on the Hill?
That is the statement I was talking about earlier, where when talking with one of the people involved, they said, and this is a quote, we had to wait in line to get in because it's busy all the time. Everyone knows it's the easiest place to get in when you're under 21.
Moving on to January 31st of this year, are you familiar with an incident on that day?
Yes, that is where Officer Stevens and Officer Myers, who's also one of our neighborhood impact team officers, conducted a walkthrough, or we call it a walkthrough or an inspection at Chicken on the Hill. That's where Officer Stevens reported to me that he saw the occupancy sign posted of 72, but he said they counted at approximately over 200 people inside the establishment.
Is that concerning to you?
Oh, go ahead.
Is having 200 people inside of the establishment concerning to you?
It was very concerning to me. And he also described the inside of the establishment to me, which is not, he said that the tables had been on the main level, so it's 2 levels. The main level, all the tables had been pushed up against the wall. And then on the upstairs, there's no furniture upstairs. It had been turned into kind of a dance area.
And why is the moving of the furniture significant to you?
Well, it's significant to me because of the amount of people that are inside of the establishment and how crowded it becomes. Again, after watching that video, so once I was alerted to that information, I watched the video. And it was clear to me that there had been physical changes compared to what the layout looks like that had been submitted to licensing for the layout. Officer Stevens was also told by the owner, Jared, that they had the fire marshal come out and do an occupancy load without the furniture there, as well as an occupancy load with the furniture there. And so that's why, like I said, it caught my attention, and I watched the video where I saw not only was the furniture moved, but right inside the front door, a new wall has been built. That is not on their floor plan. And on the other side to the wall, when you walk in directly, you have to turn to the left to get into the establishment. As you walk in further, again, the tables were all pushed up against the wall where they were set high with empty plastic cups. When they walked up the stairs, you could see that there was no furniture up the stairs. Quite a few people, and then there's a back patio area on the second floor. They walked out that back patio, and as you look over the edge, I could see down on the main level that there had been an area created for more people. Again, not on their license plan. There were tables out there, there was alcohol sitting on the tables, and there were people out there consuming the alcohol. And so I again confirmed that that is not a permitted area, and I have now learned that's not even an area that anybody's allowed to do. It's not even it can't be any type of occupancy out there at all.
Are liquor licensees allowed to modify their premises so that they're different from what was approved by licensing?
They would have to submit a request for modification, and I confirmed with licensing that that has not been done.
Are you familiar with any incidents in our country where people were injured or lost their lives because of over occupancy above what the fire code allows?
Absolutely, and that's, I think, what is so concerning to me, is those horrific incidents where fires break out, or they have some sort of a mass incident, a shooting, if you will, and people are hurt or injured not only inside the establishment, but trying to get out there when there's so many people there. Plus trying to have medical, if there's ever a need for somebody to get inside, say an ambulance or the fire department, it's difficult for them to get in when there's that many people.
Thank you. Moving on to February the 2nd of this year. Are you aware of an incident that was reported?
February 2nd, that was where Sergeant Marquez, he's the sergeant again of the neighborhood impact team, and that is his area. He was on foot patrol. What foot patrol we call is where they're just out walking around, just doing patrol, just not for any specific reason, but because maybe the area is busy or it's an area of high call volume. He was out on patrol, and he happened to walk by the line of the people waiting to get in Chicken on the Hill, and there was a underage female or a female who was holding an open container of alcohol, which is not allowed within the city limits of so he contacted her, and again, she had the fraudulent ID on her. She was under 21 years old, waiting to get into the establishment. So she was issued a ticket for that violation.
Thank you. And February 7th of this year?
On February 7th, I can find my notes here. Again, February 7th, this is where the officers were conducting a walkthrough. Here we go. I'm sorry, I had to find my notes on that one. February 7th, this is where officers were conducting a walkthrough. Chicken on the Hill, it was less crowded. When they entered, they immediately saw a girl who did not appear to be 21. They contacted her. She was 18 years of age with a fraudulent ID on her. As they were walking through the establishment, it cleared out because they saw that the officers were writing tickets, and the majority of the crowd inside the establishment left.
And then the last incident that we'll discuss here, February the 14th.
February 14th, this is Officer Stevens conducted a walkthrough. February 14th, there's two walkthroughs that are actually completed because when the officers that work that shift, they work 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. So there can be two walkthroughs that actually look like they're completed on the same date, if that makes sense. And so February 14th, there were 2 walkthroughs, but the one that I would like to talk about is, they completed a walkthrough. They spoke with security at the front of Chicken on the Hill, who immediately radioed to the other employees that the officers were getting ready to conduct a walkthrough. As they were conducting their walkthrough, and there were quite a few officers that did this one, they were notified about an unconscious female in the bathroom who was vomiting. She was in the bathroom, the officers made contact. She was not able to answer questions. They had to contact the ambulance, where they did determine that she was 18 years old and she was there with her friends who were also 18 years old. Again, she couldn't answer questions correctly due to her level of intoxication, and she had to be transported to Boulder Community Hospital. And also they said that it appeared that there were people being let in through the back entrance, which is not allowed as well.
How crowded was the bar that night? Were there any occupancy concerns on the 14th?
So the night before that, so I'm trying to find my notes for that. The night before that, the officers, as we're trying to nail down 100% what the occupancy rates or levels are, which has been done. By the way, that has been done for Chief Fire Marshal Lowry. And so it was the security was noted on the night before that the occupancy was fairly high, and that they needed to thin the crowd out. And again, that night they were, I'm trying to see if I can get you some specific numbers. The officers believe that there were about 125 people in the bar that night. That was an estimate of how many people. And again, their posted occupancy sign is still 72. But that's the sign that's still posted.
Officer Reck, are you aware of how many investigations CUPD has had in the last year involving allegations of students drinking underage at Chicken on the Hill?
Yeah, CUPD has had, let me make sure I give you these correct numbers. And I originally wrote that it was in the last year, but it's since August, October 10th. Trying to find, I have so many books here. And I believe they have 6 investigations that specifically deal with underage college students consuming alcohol at Chicken. Again, the one is still an open investigation.
And Officer Reck, are you aware of does Chicken on the Hill turn over a lot of fake IDs to the Boulder Police Department?
Last year, I received 56 fake IDs total throughout the entire year. That was in March. I received a handful September and October. I've received none this year.
So as of today, February 19th, you have not, Chicken on the Hill turned over no fake IDs to you?
No fake IDs.
And are you aware of a legal requirement to turn over fake IDs if they actually do confiscate them?
The legal rules state that if they seize a fake ID, they don't have to, but if they do, they have to turn them over within 72 hours. And in the video, I heard the owner indicating that he has seized IDs, he just hasn't turned them in.
You spoke about how on January 31st of this year, officers observed the unapproved modification of premises with the tables and chairs kind of pushed away to one side. Are you aware, was that like a one-time thing and then now it's all the way it's supposed to be, or have there been other days where that modification of premises has existed?
So all the body cam footage, even as of this weekend, still shows that modification. And Chief Fire Marshal Lowry also CC'd me on an email where he provided information to Jared Wu, the owner, that he wasn't allowed to modify it, and gave them the most current numbers, and that any modifications needed to be approved through the city. So that email happened about 2 weeks ago. And again, this past weekend, when watching the body cam footage of the officers, the modifications are still, the tables are being, there's no furniture upstairs. The wall is still there, the tables are pushed inside.
Do you know how many liquor licensees exist in the city of Boulder?
Last I counted, 255. I mean, I'm sure it's more than that now. The last I counted. 255. Alyssa will have to correct me on that one.
It's over 200. Is that accurate? Would you say that Chicken on the Hill takes up a proportionate or disproportionate amount of law enforcement time?
I would say that they take up a disproportionate amount of time in comparison to the other.
And are you worried about the way that establishment is currently being run?
I absolutely am concerned, which is why I wrote that up and brought that to the attention.
Do you believe that the way that these incidents that we've discussed about Chicken on the Hill places the community's health, safety, and welfare at immediate risk?
I absolutely do. The calls for service that I noted, the 55 calls, which I believe is now about 57, that doesn't account for any calls outside of that specific address. So if there was, again, that's why I brought up the CU cases, that 55 calls doesn't account for those cases at CU, for example. So I believe that there would be more, but we just don't have access to that information. So, you know, of how the alcohol consumption is spilling out into the community and endangering, I think, a lot of the community.
And with all these young people, 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds who are getting admittance and then having to go to the hospital because of alcohol overconsumption, do you believe that it's just the staff at Chicken on the Hill are just making mistakes to allow this to happen?
I guess it's hard to say where the disconnect is happening. If it's the staff, they're just allowing them in. I know they have a scanner, but I don't know that scanner, I mean, based upon the information that I'm getting and the amount of fake IDs that are making it into the establishment, I believe that the scanner that they have is not accurate and that is not a good one, and that there should be maybe some backup methods to how they're determining who's getting into their establishment. A lot of the officers have noted that the people that they've made contact with are clearly looked to be underage.
Officer Reck, I don't have any other questions for you. I believe it's the practice of the board to allow questions of you as well now. But I'll leave that for Mr. Ramirez. I do have a brief kind of closing argument as to what I believe the evidence has shown here today, and I don't have any further evidence. But if the board members have questions for you, then I think this is that time.
Chair Califano, Mr. Reynolds is correct. If you want to ask questions or any board member wants to ask questions, this would be at the appropriate time. Now is not the time for deliberations. After all the questions are asked and answered, then Mr. Reynolds will have a chance to make some closing arguments. I have some clarifying questions, nothing that'll add to the information, just a few things that I missed, and I'm the one taking minutes tonight. So I can either go before you or after all of you.
Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and go right now?
Thank you. Officer Reck, what was the date of the 17-year-old female and 17-year-old friend drinking tequila? Was that December 8th, 2024?
Let me take a look. Yeah, that was December 8th.
And then the next incident with the 9 officers that had to respond, was that January 16th, 2025?
Yes, it was.
And the incident with the count of over 200 people in the establishment, what date was that?
It's gonna be on January 31st, I believe.
I'm sorry?
January, I have it written here, January 31st. Let me,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. And then finally, the date of the underage female holding an open container waiting to get in.
that was Sergeant Marquez's call, and that was going to be on February 2nd.
I take that back. I have one more question. The 6 investigations from the CU Police Department, the 6 investigations since when?
Let me confirm that. It's like, right here, it is from October 10th of 2024 to February 6th of 2025.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for Officer Rec from the board? I just had one quick one. With regards to the capacity of 72, was that only for the downstairs area or did that include upstairs as well?
It's my understanding there was one occupancy sign posted. It has been by Chief Fire Marshal Lowry. That was where, again, that's kind of out of my wheelhouse. So we reached out to him and, it's now where the occupancy for the upper and the lower levels has to be delineated. Because you can't have, it's not safe to have all of your occupancy on the upper floor. We would hate to see, something bad happen from that. So the posted occupancy that they have, that's still on the door as of this past weekend, is the 72.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I have a quick question. Officer Rec, in regards to kind of security, we talked about they're having a security team in front. Is there numbers of individuals that were kind of identified as security members? And did that number fluctuate depending on the time of day or the day of the week or anything like that? Or was that like a number that was observed from the officers?
The officers that would be able to speak to that would be the Sergeant Marquez or Officer Stevens, Officer Diaz. They're the ones who actually have those communications with security. So as I stated earlier, where I'm watching it is just the body cam footage. So I can see a security officer standing there. I am not 100% certain what their schedules look like, but I do know that the sergeant and Officer Stevens would be able to speak to what type of security they have and how many they see, how often, and if there's times that they've seen them there. So sorry, I don't have a very good answer for you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Reynolds, if you, want to give your closing statements.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, you've been presented with information that meets reasonable grounds to find that this liquor licensee, Chicken on the Hill, has both violated law deliberately and willfully that meets the standard of reasonable grounds to summarily suspend their license. And I would suggest a 15-day suspension would be appropriate until perhaps a special meeting to get scheduled for a full show cause hearing. The various laws that Officer Rec has testified here to today that Chicken on the Hill have violated since September of last year and going on just as less than a week ago are Boulder Revised Code 573, unlawful to sell or give alcohol to minors, violating the fire code Boulder Revised Code Section 10-8(2) for over occupancy. And then Colorado Liquor Rule 47-302A, modifying premises. And this is also contained in the BLA Rules of Procedure, which are 831. Any modification of premises has to be approved before it can be done. And that's not it seems as though the reason why those modifications were performed is so that they can just cram more people in there, which is very, very concerning from a life safety standpoint. And then as well, just conduct of establishment, which is Colorado Liquor Code 47-900. People are unconscious from overconsumption of alcohol after drinking there in front of the establishment, in the bathroom. Teenagers are getting transported to the Boulder Community Hospital. And so those are the laws that Officer Reck has testified here today that have been deliberately and willfully violated. These aren't just mistakes. You know, a onesie or a twosie could be attributed to a mistake, but this is a pattern. It's a pattern, and it seems to be the business practice. As Officer Reck testified to, a young person said that Chicken on the Hill is just known among young people as the place to go if you're underage and have a fake ID. So you can summarily suspend their license for up to 15 days for those violations of the law. In addition, reasonable grounds have been met to demonstrate the threat to public health. Public health, safety, and welfare is significantly at risk. The worst case scenario would be, as Officer Reck testified to, is if there was a fire or an incident causing some sort of a stampede. And you heard about the large crowds outside and the large crowds inside with the doors that open to the outside. We want to avoid that at all costs. And the threat to our community safety is extremely high here. When you have all of these mixtures together, then unfortunately, tragedy is a likely outcome unless something else happens. And that's why we're asking the board to take the strong action of summarily suspending the liquor license until a full show cause hearing can be heard before this authority. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close for deliberation and discussion. I mean, this is deeply disturbing for me. Yeah, I mean, the frequency in which this is occurring and just that it keeps occurring. I mean, 18-year-olds are being sent to the hospital. I think Mr. Reynolds summed it up pretty well in that closing statement. And I would make a motion that the prosecution has proven that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the public health, safety, and welfare imperatively requires emergency action.
We're still deliberating, so I want to say this to the members of the board. This is a unique situation. When you think about the summary like suspensions like this. So the one thing I have a problem with is just that there's no one from the licensee presented during this, but that is in the rules. So if you read it, if you read the memo that was sent to us, I just want to make sure that you understand that because that's the only reticence I have around it. But there is a motion on the table, and I thoroughly agree that there has been proof presented here that an emergency suspension of 15 days must happen. So this is Member Absalom seconding Chair Califano's motion, unless there's more deliberation.
We have a first and a second here, so let's get a vote in. All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carl will abstain.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Right, so that has passed. So now I would make a motion to summarily suspend the license for a period of 15 days and that we set a show cause hearing.
Chair Califano, can we set the show cause hearing for as soon as our next hearing? Where I can ask
I
someone else.
believe it has to be within the 15 days.
It has to be within 15 days and it has to be within 10 to 15 days. And Caitlin can talk a little bit more about this because of the posting of the notice. But I would like Mr. Reynolds to also weigh in with regards to the availability of his witnesses.
Thank you very much. So our preferred date here would be Wednesday, March 5th, and that should work for our witnesses.
And that works in the timeline of the public notice. We can send public notice tomorrow for public posting on the February 23rd, which would be 10 days before the 5th.
And
That is Ash Wednesday. I don't know if that matters, but
I would let everyone know that I won't be able to attend on that date.
will other board members be able to attend?
What time would that be? Same time as 3 o'clock?
Imagine 3 o'clock. Yeah, Caitlin, does that work?
The board can set what time they would like.
I would be able to do that, but it would need to be later. Probably like maybe 5 o'clock.
Does the other board members feel?
I'm available after midday, so I readjust myself to the rest of the board. You let me know what works. I'm available after midday that date.
Same. I would prefer it at 3, but if it needs to be at 5.
I'm available on Monday, and I don't know if we want to switch it around at 3 p.m.
Member Carr, can you repeat that?
I'm available on Monday of that week if we wanted to stick with like 3 p.m. if that worked for everyone else and the witnesses.
We wouldn't be able to do Monday because we have to give 10 days notice of the meeting.
So, Mr. Reynolds, was that the only day that worked for your group?
Tuesday, March 4th would also work, I do believe. It is a narrow window, and I appreciate everyone's flexibility.
How does
Right.
two?
Unavailable on Tuesday. Sorry, I cut you off. I'm unavailable on that Tuesday, the 4th.
Do you say unavailable?
Yeah, unavailable.
I'm also unavailable. Any other day that week, Tuesday through Friday, I'll be out at town.
Right, so I guess we can go with the 5th then. That seems like the only date that's really working for everyone at 5 p.m. But before we set that, I did have a motion on the table for the suspension. Is there a second? The 15.
Actually, Chair Califano, before you guys move on to that portion of it, there were actually Mr. Reynolds presented 2 causes of action. One dealt with a deliberate and willful violation of law. One dealt with the health, safety, welfare. And so you did make one motion, but you haven't made the motion or voted on the other.
I thought that I had made a motion that said that there was reasonable grounds to believe that the public health, safety, and welfare imperatively requires emergency action, and we got a second for that.
You did, but but there were two allegations. One was that one, health, safety. The other one was that the prosecution put forward some evidence, and it's up to you to decide whether there's reasonable grounds to believe that the licensee is guilty of deliberate and willful violation of 3 different laws. And I think one was Rule 8-3-1 of your rules of procedure. Mr. Reynolds, was that concerning the moving of all the furniture and the tables without authorization from the licensing manager? And then one was 47-900.
Yes.
And I think there
So
was a third one.
it was 831 modification of premises, and then 47-900, which is conduct of establishment. And then as well, 573, providing alcohol to minors. And then lastly, 1082, over occupancy. So those are the laws that we would allege that have been willfully and deliberately violated here.
All right, so is there a motion that there's been enough evidence presented to us to validate those?
I'll make a motion that the prosecution has proven that there are reasonable grounds to believe the licensee has been guilty of a deliberate and willful violation of providing alcohol to minors, fire code violation for over occupancy, modification of premises, and conduct of establishment.
There a second?
Member Haggerty seconds the motion.
All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom abstain.
Member Carr will abstain.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts.
Oh, sorry. Member Roberts, aye.
All right, so that has passed now. At this point, Roberto, correct me if I'm wrong, but at this point, I can make a motion to summarily suspend the license for a period of 15 days
That is correct.
and that we set the show cause. I think we have set the show cause date tentatively for the 5th of March. Is there a second to the motion?
Member Absalom will second.
All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Alright, so the date I believe we set for the special hearing is the 5th of March at 5 p.m. And Roberto, I'm sure you and I will be in touch.
We will. I will start working on that now.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We will move on to agenda item 2, which is matters from Boulder Police Department. And Officer Rec, did you have anything else?
Just give an update. Our grand total for fake IDs last year were 1,796. So I'm very appreciative to those establishments that are turning them in. And this year so far, 123. Again, we are getting a lot of calls for just the fake ID thing. So we've been in contact with CUPD to try to, or student conduct, to try to come up with some solutions to see how we can maybe combat this fake ID dilemma, which is nothing new, apparently. It's something that's been around for quite some time. But I didn't do. Anyhow, other than that, I have nothing else.
Are there any questions for Officer Rec?
I have a question. What happens now? Do you guys take care of that suspension and notifying the establishment?
Roberto, do you want to talk about that, or Alyssa?
I can talk about it. So in the meet, Roberta is going to be working on the paperwork for the summary suspension, and he and I will work together to make sure that that gets over to Chair Califano for signature. And once that is completed, then Caitlin and I, along with a couple of officers, will go over to Chicken on the Hill and serve them with that and put up their suspension signs.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks so much, Officer Rick.
Thank you. We will move on to agenda item 3, matters from Responsible Association of Retailers. And I'm so sorry, RAR representatives, but if you are here to speak for RAR, can you raise your hand so I can promote you? There we go. And I believe it's Heather and Mandy who are here, but I'll let them talk.
And there's that. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for allowing some agenda time again today for the Responsible Association of Retailers. Again, my name's Heather Vesgard. I'm the director of the Partners Organization, Housing the Responsible Retailers Program. With me today is Mandy Voles, who you all met last time. I'll try to keep my comments brief. I know you are already an hour into a meeting here. But really wanted to update you on what we've been doing at RAR since the last conversation, and some decisions that we have come to as an organization. In the last month since the BLA meeting, we have really, Mandy and I, been in assessment and information gathering mode. It included a RAR member feedback survey that went out to all of the retailers who have been RAR members, also visiting with other stakeholders, including the City of Boulder Sea Fund folks, including some other trainers in the area, John Ballier being one of them, who I know you all know well. We've also been following up with state officials, including the Colorado powers that be, in designating responsible vendor trainers. And then continuing to try and contact the TIPS organization. We actually did successfully receive certificates that we had been waiting on for since the summer at some point, and then also the ServSafe organization. The conversation that you all began last month regarding the responsible vendor training designation
I apologize, but you're cutting out really bad, and I think you're
at the state
frozen.
level is where I'd love to focus my next few comments in regards to RAR being approved as a RVT designated trainer through the state. Has resulted in no movement.
Heather, you're having issues with your audio.
I'm gonna do this and see if it helps. I do have
That
the
is better.
unstable
That's
internet
great. Yep, that's great.
message that just popped up. Are you hearing me?
It was good for a second and then it got bad again. I'm sorry.
Andy, is there anything you can elaborate on with this?
So yes, let me pull it up here real quick. Well, that's our agenda. Okay, so I apologize. I am literally going to read kind of the letter that Heather wrote to tell you all, just because it's coming from the horse's mouth and that way it's very clear. So states, good afternoon and thanks for having RAR on the agenda for updates today. In the month since the last BLA meeting, Mandy and I have been spending RAR work time in assessment and information gathering mode. This work includes
included a member feedback survey on the services of RER and meetings with other stakeholders, including the City of Boulder Sea Fund and folks like John Ballier, well-known trainer in Colorado. It also included follow-up with the State of Colorado powers that be and designated responsible vendor trainings and with the TIPS organization and ServSafe. In regard to our ability to achieve RVT designation with the State of Colorado, there has been no movement. As y'all are determining the best response to the current spot that trainers and therefore retailers find themselves in, given the current situation, I wanted to share a couple of thoughts for your consideration. In conversation with John Ballier, who is unable to be here with us today, who is, in my opinion, a wealth of knowledge in this area, it seems there are a few options to consider as you make your decisions. 1, stick with the state-approved list of trainers. As we discussed last month, there are currently 6 of them for the whole state and do temporary emergency approval of previously approved trainers/programs, hoping that more local trainers will be approved. I know there was a motion discussed to this effect last month. I think this is likely a short-term solution as I don't have any confidence that the trainer pool will grow due to state approval in the next 3 months. Though it does sound like John is making some headway. He is just one person. I'm just going to reiterate there. We have been talking with John, and it sounds like he's been back and forth with the state LED in a way that he is now, I think, on his 3rd iteration of his training, and whatever, his training, essentially. So it sounds like the LED will be approving him shortly. Number 2, as the Boulder Liquor Authority, put some pressure on the state LED to allow the nationally recognized programs with proper approved Colorado state supplements being presented. The rationale for their model of individually approved training programs as RVTs instead of nationally recognized ones that already exist is that trainers weren't teaching the Colorado specific supplements. It seems that the state could shift a bit and approve these federally recognized programs with proof that the Colorado supplements were being added. To our knowledge, a reason against that hasn't been provided by the LED, and if community leadership puts some pressure on, that could change. 3, the BLA could shift away from adhering only to Colorado state regs via bylaw revision and set their own standards for training, approving their own responsible vendor training programs and/or instructors to meet their own criteria. Other communities have done this, and the resources are available to determine the criteria for that structure. She ends by saying, I appreciate you listening to those thoughts and wanted to get them on record before letting you know that in response to our assessment process of the last month and in light of the challenges we've been discussing the last couple of months, the Partners Board of Directors has made the decision that our organization will no longer implement RER services in Boulder, effective immediately. She has already let the City of Boulder SEA Fund contacts know this and will be communicating to members following today's meeting. I appreciate the work you all do and the opportunity to have worked with you. While we continue to feel that retailer education is a critical piece of substance misuse and abuse prevention, Partners in RER is not currently the right entity to be doing that work in Boulder. I hope that folks like John and other community trainers are able to continue successfully in this important work. So at that point, we're happy to answer questions. Maybe Heather is back with us.
I am back. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to the computer. I've got you all on my phone if you can hear me. And thank you, Mandy, for sharing my statement. I did type it out because I wanted to be clear and concise. I also welcome any questions or conversation that you all have at this point.
Are there any questions for Heather? Heather, do you plan to return at any point?
You know, it's a great question. I will say that the challenges occurring at the state level with the responsible vendor training designation are not the only issues. A lot of feedback that we have been receiving from retailers is really that the pressures within the liquor industry have changed so much in recent years, partially in response to grocery stores selling wine and, you know, owners of local establishments working the counters instead of having time to attend member meetings, some of the changes that are occurring in law enforcement doing different types of ID compliance checking. They're really pointing to a need for a complete overhaul of the RAR program. So returning in the exact same iteration is probably not likely based on the feedback we've gotten from members. The heartbreaking part of this for me is that members really do want the training. That's the service that they have said that they want out of a membership in something like Responsible Association of Retailers. And it's very apparent, given the work that all of you do in the world that we work in, that that training is really critical. And so I don't want to say no, we'll never step back into that work, but I do feel like we really need some time to figure out what that could look like for us, and also hopefully for the state and the communities to figure out I guess a little more clarity and efficiency in processes to make it possible for effective trainers to do their work. So the C Fund contract was set for one more year with RAR doing the work, and they have been wonderful in saying, we recognize things change. And then my guess is that they would re-up for another round following that, and we'll see what happens. I do want to reiterate that I have only recently started interacting and communicating with John Bellier, but have already learned a lot from him. And I think that he's got some really great insights into ways that the state could make this easier for trainers and for communities trying to do responsible work in liquor sales and cannabis sales for that matter. And I hope that he could continue to be a resource with this group and maybe provide some guidance on those resources. I don't know how it works for the BLA to provide feedback to the state. I don't know what the implications for you all are of looking at your own process versus following the state process. But those are just some thoughts that had come up that I really wanted to share as we're exiting this work for the time being.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions from the board?
Yeah, this is Member Absalom. I'm just wondering, are you completely pulling out of all the marijuana side of things too in the Boulder community? And are you doing that same thing in your other communities? I'm just wondering if it's specific to alcohol in Boulder is the reason this is changing.
Yeah, great question. We are not going to be doing any cannabis work in any of our communities. Nathan Dewey was the only trainer that was certified in the bud tender program. And that is a whole different animal in terms of regulations. When Nathan exited the organization, the next reiteration of the bud tender training was in review by the state, but I don't have anyone trained to implement that, and I don't have the capacity to get that rolling. I did visit a little bit with John about that, to be honest, and it wasn't something that he was doing yet, but I encouraged him to just think about that as a part of his work as a full-time trainer. And then in regards to whether or not we're pulling out completely of RAR work, we haven't made that decision in Larimer County yet. Larimer County has different rules around which state regulations they need to follow, and having an additional organization that can just do responsible vendor training without requiring the designation of the state is something that is potentially going to continue to be a resource in Larimer County. But the other stuff, the feedback that I shared about liquor establishments thinking they might be closing in the next year, their ability and desire for other services that we've been providing, member meetings, any compliance checks, those kinds of things, that feedback is universal. Really what people want is the training. So we'll be revamping everything in Larimer County at a minimum. Whether or not we completely pull out remains to be seen.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Are there any other questions from any of the other board members? Not seeing any. Well, Heather, I think it's really, really unfortunate but I understand the reasoning behind your decision. But if you would ever reconsider returning, I think you guys could be very valuable. You are very valuable to the community in the service industry of liquor licensees. So I would just, yeah, if you can, come back.
I really appreciate that. Thank you for that comment, and that's good for me to know that that's the perspective. And I certainly think, as Mandy, we have not given up on trying to get this. I mean, we applied for this responsible vendor trainer, and we believe that Mandy's a really good trainer, and we believe that we've got the structure that could make this very effective. So we haven't given up. And certainly, if we get that designation, we'll be in communication with John about having that designation. I know trainers are not in surplus and don't love the idea of leaving people without trainers. Just currently, we're in a spot where we're not even allowed to train. So I also didn't want to waste C Fund money, not knowing what the timeline looks like. So thank you all for the important work that you do. This board doesn't have an easy task, as was just evidenced by the last hour of hearing all of that. So thanks for what you do as well. And thanks for working with us and for your understanding.
And I will add that as our members have contacted us or I've just been reaching out to them and letting them know that here is the list of state approved vendors for right now. This is what I can offer to you. Here is John Vallier's website, if he gets approved by the state as well. So I'm trying to give our Boulder people as much good information as I possibly can right now. And please keep us in the loop. Like, you know, by all means, keep sending us everything. Because if we do want to join back up, or if we're able to figure this out again, you know, it'd be good to be in the loop and not just be totally out of everything.
Thank you both again.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Okay, so board, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna ask to rearrange the agenda a bit here. Only because there's a few people who are on some time constraints. So if possible, we have an interpreter for agenda item 6. So if possible, I would like to hear them right now. And then after that, if we can hear agenda item 7, and then after that, agenda item 9, because they have Liquor Pros, and Liquor Pros has another meeting, another hearing at 6 that they need to be at. So that needs to end by 6, if that's okay with you all.
I think that's what we got to do.
Okay, cool. Let me get everyone where they're supposed to be. I'm just promoting our interpreter here. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and swear you in. And then you can begin interpreting for this agenda item. Okay, if you'll raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will make an accurate, complete, and impartial interpretation from the English language into Spanish and vice versa of all communications during this proceeding using your best skill, judgment, and ability?
I do.
Thank you. And just to verify, you are a certified interpreter.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a Colorado Court certified interpreter.
Thank you so much. Okay, I will begin. We will start with agenda item 6, which is continued public hearing and consideration of an application filed on October 30th, 2024 from El Taco Imperial de Tlaxcala LLC, DBA El Taco Imperial de Tlaxcala, 2850 Iris Avenue, Suite H, Boulder, Colorado, 80301, Margarita Valle Castron, 100% owner, sole member and registered manager, with the premises business mailing address for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license.
Ahora vamos a seguir con el siguiente punto de la agenda en nuestra audiencia pública y consideración de una solicitud presentada el 30 de octubre de 2024 del Taco Imperial de Tlaxcala LLC, que opera bajo el nombre El Taco Imperial de Tlaxcala. Margarita Valle Castrejón, propietario del 100%, miembro único y gerente registrada con dirección postal comercial local para una nueva licencia de licor de tipo hotel-restaurante.
And Margarita, I see that you're in the hearing.
Y Margarita, veo que usted está presente aquí en la reunión.
Sí.
And can you turn your camera on for me?
Por favor, si puede prender su cámara.
Sí.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Will anyone else be appearing with you today?
¿Alguien más va a aparecer con usted el día de hoy?
No, nada más yo.
No, just
Okay.
myself.
Thank you. I will swear you in and then we'll get started.
Entonces, le voy a administrar el juramento y vamos a iniciar.
Sí.
If you'll raise your right hand.
Por favor, levanta su mano derecha.
Sí.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the Beverage Licensing Authority is true?
¿Usted jura o afirma que el testimonio que va a dar ante este consejo de licencia de bebidas va a ser la verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
And if you can give your full name and address for the record.
Sí, por favor, puede decir su nombre completo y dirección para que conste en el acta.
Sí, Margarita Castrejón. La dirección 2850 Iris Avenida. Suite H, Boulder, Colorado.
Margarita Castro.
Castrejón.
Castrejo. Sorry. Castrejo. ¿Puede deletrearlo, por favor, para estar segura?
Es Castrejón. Castrejón.
That would be Margarita Castrejon, and the last name is spelled Castrejon, and the address is 2850 Iris Avenue, Suite H in Boulder.
Thank you. I will hand it over to the board.
Le paso la palabra al consejo.
All right. And Margarita, since you're not represented by counsel, I'm going to go ahead and read the proceedings into the record.
Y señora Margarita, ya que usted no tiene abogada, voy a proceder a leer los procedimientos para el acta.
Sí.
And Ms. Nelson, it's kind of a lot, so I will go as slow as I can so that you can
Or if you have it handy, you could copy paste it into the chat for me if that's not a violation of any privacy or anything. That would be helpful as well.
I would refer to Caitlin and Roberto on that one.
It is not. If you're able to do so, I anticipate that it would be very helpful to the interpreter.
Okay, let me go ahead and try to do that real quick here, and just give me a quick minute.
Thank you.
We are on agenda item 6, correct?
That's correct.
I think the wrong rules of procedure may have been put into that packet item. That looks like they're for a bed and breakfast.
Okay, one second.
And actually, I have the agenda here in the full packet. If you have the page, I could just refer to that.
One sec, let me find a good page for you.
Thank you.
If you will look at page 102, that is the correct hearing procedures.
Got it. Thank you.
Great. So Ms. Nielsen, you have that up now? Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start reading that then. This is a public hearing before the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder to determine whether or not the application of El Taco Imperial de Tacala LLC, doing business as El Taco Imperial de Tacala, for a new hotel type restaurant liquor license shall be granted or denied. This hearing is conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and the rules of the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder.
Esta es una audiencia pública ante la Autoridad de Licencias de Bebidas de la ciudad de Boulder para determinar si se concede o se niega la solicitud de la de Tlaxcala. Sorry, can you repeat the name? I didn't have it on hand here.
I think it's Tacala, yeah.
Yes, de Taco de Tlaxcala, que opera bajo el mismo nombre, de una licencia de licor tipo hotel-restaurante. Esta audiencia se lleva a cabo de conformidad con las leyes del estado de Colorado y las normas de la Autoridad de Licencias de Bebidas de Boulder.
The purpose of this hearing is to receive information, data, and testimony by interested parties in order to enable this authority to make the findings and to reach the conclusions required to be made by state law as to whether or not the license applied for shall issue.
El propósito de esta audiencia es recibir información, datos y testimonios de las partes interesadas para que esta autoridad pueda hacer los hallazgos y llegar a las conclusiones que exige la ley estatal sobre si se debe o no expedir la licencia solicitada.
Interested parties are the applicant, residents of the neighborhood under consideration, and the owners and managers of a business located in the neighborhood under consideration. For purposes of determining who is an interested party at this hearing, the neighborhood under consideration is the neighborhood previously defined by the authority.
El propósito de esta audiencia es, las partes interesadas son el solicitante, los residentes del vecindario en cuestión y los propietarios y gerentes de un negocio ubicado en el vecindario en cuestión. A los efectos de determinar quién es una parte interesada en esta audiencia, el vecindario en cuestión es el vecindario previamente definido por la autoridad.
The authority shall make a final determination of the affected neighborhood prior to determining whether the license shall be issued. Any interested party may speak to the question of neighborhood designation as well as other information relevant to the granting or denial of the application.
La autoridad tomará una determinación final sobre el vecindario afectado antes de determinar si se emitirá la licencia. Cualquier parte interesada puede hablar sobre la cuestión de la designación del vecindario, así como sobre otra información relevante para la concesión o denegación de la solicitud.
A record is being made of these proceedings. Those who desire to be heard shall identify themselves by stating their name, spelling their last name, and stating their pertinent address. They shall also be sworn in by the board secretary.
Se está llevando un registro de estos procedimientos. Aquellos que desean ser escuchados deberán identificarse diciendo su nombre, deletreando su apellido y diciendo su dirección pertinente. También prestarán juramento ante el secretario del consejo.
Now for the board, is there any ex parte communication or conflicts of interest? Member Califano, no.
Member Absalom, no.
Member
Y
Clark, no.
Member
Por
Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
Por parte del consejo se pregunta si existe algún conflicto de interés y todas las partes confirman que no.
All right, and is there anyone here in the audience that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could please raise your hand.
Y si hay alguien aquí presente en el público que desea hacer escuchado su voz, si por favor pueden levantar la mano.
I don't see anybody.
No veo a nadie.
So at this point, we can go ahead and begin with your testimony, Margarita.
Entonces, en ese momento ya podemos iniciar con su testimonio, Margarita.
Sí.
So at this point, Margarita, this is where you kind of tell us what you've changed since you came back as this item was continued from last month.
Entonces ese es el momento, usted, Margarita, donde puede decir lo que haya cambiado desde el mes pasado, ya que este es un punto que se aplazó a este mes.
Sí, el mes pasado me estaban pidiendo las certificaciones de las personas que vamos a servir alcohol. Ya tomamos nosotros esa certificación, ya la tenemos tomada, ya tenemos esa clase, ya está lista.
Yes, last month they were asking for the certification of the people who are going to be serving alcohol, and we have taken the certification. We took the class, and that's ready.
Tenemos también la póliza que se da de la póliza del alcohol, también ya la tenemos.
And we also have the policy, the alcohol policy that we will be giving out.
Y al parecer creo que era lo único que nos faltaba.
And I think that was the only thing that we were missing.
Is there anything else you wanted to present?
¿Hay algo más que usted quisiera presentar?
Pues no, creo que el mes pasado hablamos sobre el por qué apliqué yo para esta licencia, porque pues todos mis clientes me llegan, me piden que una margarita, una cerveza, o sea, algo como para acompañar su comida. Entonces, por eso puse yo la aplicación para licor. Entonces, pues sí, igual para aumentar un poquito más mis ventas, la comunidad lo pide. Y bueno, pues nada más eso. No sé si hay otra cosa que tenga yo que hacer, pero ya tenemos la póliza, tenemos la certificación del training que nos dieron. Y pues no sé, espero que con eso sea posible, ¿verdad? Para yo poder obtener la licencia.
No, I think that basically last month we talked about why I am applying for the license. Basically, all my clients are asking for a beer or a margarita to go with their meal, and so that's why I submitted the application for the liquor license. And also, just to increase my sales, the community is asking for it. That's basically it. I'm not really sure if there's anything else that I would need to do. We have the policy in place and the certification from the training, and I hope that will be enough for us to get the license.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions from the board members for Margarita?
Gracias por eso. ¿Hay alguna pregunta de los miembros del consejo para Margarita?
Not sure, Member Roberts, I'm guessing no.
Señor Robertson, miembro Robertson, supongo que no.
Sorry, I didn't know my video was off. Disculpa, no sabía que estaba apagada mi video.
Well, if there are no more questions, we will go ahead and close for deliberation at this point.
Sí,
Is
no hay.
there? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry. Sí, no hay más preguntas, entonces vamos a cerrar para un momento de deliberación.
Is there a motion?
Una moción.
Member Absalom will make a motion to approve the license.
Miembro Absalom mueve para aprobar la licencia.
Member Carr will second the motion.
Miembro Cara segunda esa moción.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
License approved.
Todos a favor, si por favor pueden decir aye. Y todos dijeron que aye y está aprobada la licencia.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Felicidades.
Okay,
Gracias.
thank you very much.
Thank you. And Margarita, I will be in touch so we can get that final approval.
Y
Ok.
Margarita, voy a estar en contacto con usted para que hacerle llegar esa aprobación final.
Ok, sí está bien.
Okay, that's great.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Jennifer. I think we're good with interpretation now.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. Have a good evening.
Okay, let me make sure everyone is where they're supposed to be. Okay, great. We will move on to agenda item 7, which is continued public hearing and consideration of an application filed on November 18th, 2024 from Nepal House LLC, DBA Nepal House and Cuisine, 4720 Table Mesa Drive, C100, Boulder, Colorado, 80305. Topton Lama, 85% owner, president, and proposed registered manager, and Labjit Rai, vice president and 15% owner, with the premises mailing business address for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license. And if you're here to speak on this matter, please go ahead and raise your hand. I see that Eva is coming in. If anyone else is here to speak on this matter, please go ahead and raise your hand. Eva, do you know if the licensee is
on with us? No, unfortunately, I don't. I can.
Okay. That's okay. I got him, I think. There we go. And Mr. Lama, there we are. Hello.
Here, yeah.
Okay, so I see that Ms. Garrison is here to appear with you. Will anyone else be appearing with you?
Oh yeah, my friend Gozendra.
Okay, I'll go ahead and swear you guys in. Mr. Lama, if you will say your name and spell your name for the record.
Topden Lama, Topden, and the last name is Lama.
Thank you. And if you will give an address for the record as well.
My restaurant address is 4720 Table Mesa Drive, Unit C100, Boulder, Colorado 80305.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give before the Beverage Licensing Authority are true and correct?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And will anyone else from the business be giving testimony with you?
Myself, only me.
Just yourself. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And Eva, if I can have you say your name, spell your name, give your address for the record.
Yeah, for the record, my name is Eva Garreton. Last name is Garretson, one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals. I apologize. I licked the wrong grocery cart. I am sick right now. I will do my very best today. Thank you for allowing me to get this done. And we are located at 5515 Saddle Rock Place in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Thank you so much. And if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give before the Beverage Licensing Authority are true and correct?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
99%.
All right, so at this point, since you're not represented by counsel, I'm going to go ahead and read the rules of procedure into the record.
Yes. Yes.
Second here. All right, this is a public hearing before the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder to determine whether or not the application of Nepal House LLC doing business as Nepal House and Cuisine for a new hotel type restaurant liquor license shall be granted or denied. This hearing is conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and the rules of the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder. Purpose of this hearing is to receive information, data, and testimony by interested parties in order to enable this authority to make the findings and to reach the conclusions required to be made by state law as to whether or not the license applied for shall issue. Interested parties are the applicant, residents of the neighborhood under consideration, and the owners and managers of a business located in the neighborhood under consideration. For purposes of determining who is an interested party at this authority, the authority shall make final determination of the affected neighborhood prior to determining whether the license shall be issued. Any interested party may speak to the question of neighborhood designation as well as other information relevant to the granting or denial of the application. Record is being made of these proceedings. Those who desire to be heard shall identify themselves by stating their name, spelling their last name, and stating their pertinent address. They shall also be sworn in by the board secretary. Is there any conflict of interest or ex parte communication from any of the board members? Member Califano, no.
Member Absalom, no.
Member Carr, no.
Member Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
All right, and is there anyone here in the audience that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could please raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, you may proceed. So this would be your time to discuss what you plan to do with your restaurant, your policies that you're going to be putting in place, the general idea for your service, that kind of thing.
Yes, actually, this restaurant is Indian and Nepali cuisine and Tibetan as well. And most of my clients are asking for, liquors just to have, just to enjoy, while they are having lunch and dinner. So that's why I think this is a good opportunity to serve my clients. And for the beverage, while I'm making a service, we have got a special kind of policy that we get just well trained to the staffs and be careful. And for example, there is underage, young people are coming or overdrunk people are coming. So we need to be very careful for that. And also serving for the customer, be careful for that, So these kind of things were just mainly focused while we're serving for the beverage.
I will have to say, I don't think I saw any written policy in your application.
We have
an attachment was sent to the board this morning. And that has the policy and a tips training in there.
Yeah, we just take this one. Did you find the policy?
I did. I was just glancing through it now. Are you going to have your employees sign that?
Yes.
Great. All right. Are there any other questions for the board?
Yeah, I don't have that much. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was seeing if we had any questions for you.
Okay. Sorry for that. Sorry for that.
All right. I'm not seeing any. Is there anything else you'd like to present?
From my side, or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, actually, this is it's been a long time, so for requesting for the beverage license, because many of my customers, they are very, very interested. So I would highly request for this. Yeah, that's all.
All right. Great. Thank you. Well, if there's no further testimony, well, curious, did we want to hear from Ms. Garrettson or do we need to? I know it's a requirement of our rules.
Chair, if it matters, I have one more after this. So if you'd like me to follow up really quickly on this, I can do this pretty quick.
That'd be great.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Once again, for the record, my name is Eva Garrettson, one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals. Just really quickly, we conducted the needs and desires survey regarding the new hotel and restaurant liquor license for Nepal House, located at 4720 Table Mesa Drive. We conducted this survey on the dates of Sunday, February 2nd, Monday, February 3rd, made attempted contacts with 380 owners, managers, and residents inside the area, obtaining a total of 123 signatures. 44 signatures were from business owners and managers, all 44 signing in favor at 100%. We then obtained a total of 79 residential signatures, 78 signing in favor at 99%, one opposed at 1%. Our combined total has 99% signing in favor with this license and one opposed. We do ask those folks to write in why they're in favor or opposed to this license. Nobody wrote in an actual reason as to why they were opposed to this application, so we count that as a valid reason of opposition. Although the 99% clearly shows a positive need and desire, given the fact that there are other licenses of similar types in this area and that those existing outlets have not yet met that need. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any
Thank you.
questions for Ms. Garrettson? Not seeing any. So at this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion?
Member Carl will make a motion to approve the license.
Is there a second?
Member Haggerty, second the motion.
All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
All right, license approved. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank goodness.
And Mr. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it. Okay. Mr. Lama, Kristen Teague will be in contact with you on next steps, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let me just get everyone where they're supposed to be. Okay. We will skip ahead to agenda item 9. I do really quickly want to acknowledge there's a question in there if agenda item 8 will be heard before 6 p.m. And I do believe that the next two items are not going to take an hour. So I think everyone will be, all of the applications besides our renewal hearing will be done by 6 p.m. Our renewal hearing licensee will be back at 5:45, and so we can hear them after that. So I think everyone is going to get out of here in time. If not, I apologize. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead to agenda item 9 so that Eva can get out of here. And agenda item 9 is public hearing and consideration of an application filed on December 11th, 2024 for Mr. Oso Boulder LLC, DBA Mr. Oso Boulder, 1253 Pleasant Street, Unit 101, Boulder, Colorado 80302, Oso Boulder Holdings LLC, 100% owner, Catherine Ann O'Shea, indirect member, and Juan David Pedro, president and indirect member, with a mailing address of 2921 West 30th Avenue, PMB 310, Denver, Colorado 80211, for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license. If you are here to speak on this matter, please go ahead and raise your hand. I see Mr. Sandberg. And Mr. Sandberg is just getting situated.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Mr. Sandberg.
Okay.
And who will be appearing with you today?
Thank you. My name is Brandon Sandberg. Registration number is 42507. Law firm of Dill, Carr, Stonebreaker, and Hutchings. Here on behalf of the applicant. In my conference room today is John Stonebreaker, also an attorney at Dill. Present to my right is Kevin Eddy. He is a chief development officer. He'll be testifying on behalf of the applicant. Also in my conference room is Keegan Labrador. He's the director of Beverage. I don't believe he'll be testifying, but just want the board to know he's here and available.
Thank you so much. I will go ahead and swear in Mr. Eddy to begin with then. Mr. Eddy, if you'll say your name, spell your name, and give an address for the record.
Yeah, hi, my name is Kevin Eddy, spelled Kevineddy, and the location, the address of the business is 1253 Pleasant Street, Unit 101, Boulder, Colorado 80302.
Thank you so much. And I see you have your right hand raised there. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give before the Beverage Licensing Authority are true and correct?
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. And since you're representing his counsel, I'd ask if you'd be willing to waive the reading of the procedures into the record.
Absolutely, we do. Thank you.
Great. And is there any ex parte communication or conflict of interest from any of the board members? Member Califano, no.
Member Absalom, no.
Member Carr, no.
Member Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
All right. And is there anyone in the audience, or the attendees rather, that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could please raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Sandberg, you may proceed.
Thank you. We're first going to call Ms. Gerritsen with Liquor Pros. I just wanted to give the board a little background on where we'll go. I'm going to have Ms. Gerritsen talk about the petitioning results, but also want her to talk about training. Liquor Pros is going to be providing external training for the applicant regarding the sale and service of alcohol. My understanding of being on the hearing last month and observing it was that the board was considering allowing those vendors that were state certified previously and going through the process, that their training would be sufficient for the city of Boulder. And I believe it may have been board member Absalom mentioning wanting to hear about the training from those providing it. Therefore, I'll have Ms. Gerritsen go through that just to give a little background on why we may go a little bit longer with her, if that's okay.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Gerritsen, I know you were previously sworn in, but can you please introduce yourself again?
Sure. Once again, for the record, my name is Eva Gerritsen, one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals, doing business as Liquor Pros. We are a petitioning company that does needs and desires survey for both liquor and marijuana licenses throughout the entire state of Colorado. We also provide training and we also provide measurements for the state of Colorado as well.
Ms. Gerritsen, how long have you been with Liquor Pros?
I have been with Liquor Pros now for 10 years, going on 10 years.
And in your 10 years, approximately how many petitioning surveys has Liquor Pros completed?
Over 4,000.
Okay. And approximately how many jurisdictions in the state has Liquor Pros provided petitioning services in?
We now surpassed just this last year 120 different jurisdictions.
Okay. And you've been in Boulder many times previously?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you please describe the petitioning results and work that you did for the applicant, Mr. Oso's Boulder, please?
Yes, sir. So prior to the start of the survey, we were briefed on the type of liquor license that it was being applied for Mr. Oso Boulder, located at 1253 Pleasant Street, Unit 101. There in Boulder for the new hotel and restaurant liquor license. Once again, because it's a new hotel and restaurant liquor license, this does mean it's a full liquor license or full liquor. We completed this petition on Saturday, February the 1st, made attempted contacts with 381 business owners, managers, and residents inside the Boulder area, inside the boundary. And we walked away with 123 signatures. Great day to be out to petition. We obtained 43 business signatures, all 43 signatures signed in favor at 100%. We then obtained a total of 80 residential signatures. All 80 once again signed in favor at 100%. We are a third-party petitioning company, which means we do not guarantee results for the applicant. We simply provide the survey and the results are what they are. However, if we combine these, we have a total of 123 signatures all signing in favor at 100%. This is very rare. But we do, even though there are other licenses of similar types right there off of Broadway, we still feel that the 100% clearly shows a need and desire for this particular license in the area, and that the existing outlets have not yet met that need. We also carried around with us information regarding Mr. Oso Boulder, so that if folks had a question as to who they were, the concept, any information of that, we did provide them with that information as well.
And Ms. Gerritsen, looking at the neighborhood map, this location's obviously on the hill, but it looks like the area you covered was not just the hill neighborhood. You went outside that, and what were the reasons for that?
The reasons for that is because there were folks that wanted to. The hill does have that reputation of having issues. There are a lot of sorority houses. There are a lot of fraternities in that area. In fact, that Saturday that we did go out, there were a lot of activity and a lot of functions going on in there. So it was a really good day to get feedback, and then also to provide further out any sort of information to folks that are in the neighbor that could walk to and from this establishment. So that's why we went out a little bit further, because it is still within the boundary area.
And looking at the petitioning results, it appears that it's not just people that are the stereotypical college age, that there were people of all different ages that were contacted and signed in support. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And Ms. Gerritsen, did you pre-file the petitioning results as required?
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay. And you've been in communication with my client to provide external training. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And can you describe for the authority Liquor Pros state certified training that you've previously been state certified and where you're at process?
So we are in communications with Renata Bertrand. She is reviewing once again. We did send in information. They, however, claim that they did not receive it. So we resent this back in. We are now in communication and are finalizing our approval to get listed under the Colorado Responsible Vendor Training with the state, with Liquor Enforcement Division, which includes everything that falls under Colorado Code of Regulations 47-605, which covers everything from personal responsibility of servers and sellers to license permits, posting requirements, alcohol, beverages being brought in, removed from premises, setting the tone for your establishment, ID checking guides, acceptable forms of identification, detecting and confiscating fake IDs, selling alcohol responsibly, sales to minors, sales to visibly intoxicated persons, signs of visible intoxication, blood alcohol content, DUIs, intoxication rate factors, hours of alcohol that may be sold, the liability that they will take on in selling liquor, the conduct of the establishment, and age of sellers and servers, anything that follows within that realm of the Colorado liquor awareness.
And that is the same. And I'm sorry, Ms. Gerritsen, that is the similar training that you're going to be providing to the staff that sell and serve alcohol at Mr. Oso Boulder. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And Liquor Pros has previously been a state-approved responsible vendor. Is that right?
That is correct. We got approved back in 2017 under our new management, and then we were asked to recertify last year.
Okay. And I know the authority is aware of the struggles working with state and the approval process at this time. Has state indicated to you and or Liquor Pros that you are able to continue providing this training?
They asked us to continue our training while they get through their process of certifying us under this. So they did ask us to continue training under their program while they get our name listed back underneath. So we expect that to be here within the next 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
And I have no further questions for Ms. Gerritsen, but if the authority has any questions, please.
Are there any questions for Ms. Gerritsen from the board? Not seeing any. Please continue.
Thank you. And Chair, I know Ms. Gerritsen does have a hearing in another jurisdiction. Can she please be excused?
Yes, absolutely, and feel better.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Bye, Eva. All right, thank you. With that, I'd like to call Mr. Eddy, please. And Mr. Eddy, if you can please introduce yourself to the authority and how you're associated with Mr. Oso Boulder, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Kevin Eddy. I am the Chief Development Officer of the Culinary Creative Group, and the Mr. Oso Boulder is one of our brands associated with that restaurant group.
And as with your position, what are your duties and responsibilities regarding a restaurant, pre-opening, post-opening?
Yeah, so basically my role as the Chief Development Officer, I handle pretty much all things from the letter of intent to handing the business over to operations. So I handle the design, the FF&E procurement, the licensing, and the build outs. Pretty much orchestrate everything pre-opening. And then all of our existing stores, I handle all of the capital improvement projects, large scale facility maintenance projects, amongst like some other things, but that's pretty much the main part of my role.
And can you tell the BLA your background in the hospitality industry as well as your team?
Sure. I've been in hospitality since I was in college. So, you know, worked in hospitality to help pay for college, and then realized it was the industry for me, and I've been in it ever since. And opened my first business here in Colorado in 2000. And since then, you know, we've grown to 26 locations and 14 different brands.
And are the majority of those locations in Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of them are in Denver. We also have a location in Westminster, the DIA, soon to be Boulder, and then we also have a Mr. Oso in New Orleans.
And you mentioned 26 locations. How many different brands or types of restaurants?
Yeah, we have about 14 different brands. Well, some of those is the coffee house, Aviano Coffee, but yeah, 14 different brands, including coffee.
And what are some of those other brands that the authority may recognize?
I think you will recognize, I mean, obviously Mr. Oso is our most exciting, fastest growing brand. We have Bardot, which also has a new location at the International Airport. The Tappan Burgers, we have 4 Tappan Burgers in Denver. Kumoya, A5 Steakhouse, Ashkara, yeah, many different brands. And then we have some cocktail bars as well in Cherry Creek.
So very, very experienced operators.
Yes, correct.
Okay. If you had to estimate the number of people that have been served in your time in the hospitality in the different locations, approximately how many people do you think have been served?
And within the Culinary Creative Group, probably a conservative estimate would be right around 10, probably about 10 million guests between the 14 different brands.
Between all those brands and the years of operation, how many liquor violations?
We've unfortunately had 1 violation.
And let's talk about Boulder. This is our first location in Boulder. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Why Boulder and why now?
Well, I mean, I love Boulder. It's probably the first place I visited when I moved here, but we saw this opportunity in this beautiful hotel coming to the hill, and then in the adjacent corner, another beautiful hotel and convention center. and we had an opportunity to be part of it with the retail spaces that are associated with the hotel. And yeah, just think the opportunity just arose, and we're like, wow, that's a fantastic opportunity to be somewhere we've wanted to do business for a long time.
And the location you're mentioning, a hotel on the hill, that it's next to the Moxie. Is that right?
Correct. It would be considered the annex to the Moxie. There are actually hotel rooms above our retail spaces.
And for those that have not been to one of the other Mr. Wilson locations, how would you describe the concept?
Mr.
Yeah,
Spencer, you're cutting out pretty bad.
Oh,
I'm sorry, can you hear me better? All right, my apologies. For those that have not been to a Mr. Oso location, how would you describe the concept?
yeah. So we're ceviche, tacos, and smoke. So it's a Latin concept with Latin cuisine as well as traditional Latin cocktails. We have a very large agua fresca program, which we're really proud of for non-alcoholic beverages. But it's essentially smoked meats, smoked veggies, smoked fish on a taco. It's a very highly intensive prep, but the outstanding food. We're really proud of it, and it actually won a Bib Gourmand Michelin award. So we're really happy with that.
And if you had to estimate, what would you anticipate the percentage of food versus alcohol being?
We're a restaurant, food first. We're about 70% culinary and 30% beverage.
So the beverage is complementary to the food, but food focused.
Absolutely.
And our full meal is going to be available at all times that sale and service of alcohol are happening.
100%.
Let's talk about employees. I know we're not currently open.
Correct.
Once you are open, approximately how many employees do you anticipate having?
We anticipate, probably 35 to 40 employees.
And will there be a management structure at this location?
Yeah, so basically with Culinary Creative, we're in the Latin division, so we'll have a director of operations that oversees this location, a culinary director that oversees this location, a beverage director, which is Keegan, who's sitting with us today. And then at the store level, we'll have a general manager, assistant general manager, and a bar lead. So quite a bit of management at this location.
And we've already started hiring the management team, is that correct?
Yes, they have already been hired and are training at our Denver locations as we speak.
And will there always be a manager of some sort that's on premises at all times that we're open?
At all times.
Let's talk about the training. We have internal and external training. Is that right?
Yeah, so yes, we do. We have internal training is an internal document that we use to conduct training for all of our new hires during their onboarding and training process. It's a pretty extensive, training document that is part of the handbook, and all new employees have to know it, sign it, and get tested on it. And a lot of what Ava mentioned for the state certification is part of our internal document as well.
And you actually have some of your team members are already trained through state certified responsible vendors, and they're actually becoming trainers themselves. Is that right?
That's correct. Keegan is certified. Our other beverage director that oversees the cocktail division is also certified, and she's also halfway through the state certification to become a trainer. We think with the amount of stores and the amount of employees that we have, we want to extend it to all of our concepts in Denver, Westminster. Everyone is going to be a certified to sell and serve alcohol.
You understand that Boulder has specific requirements when staff members are hired that they do need to be trained. Is that right?
Yes, we understand that, and everybody will be trained prior to selling a beverage.
Let's talk a little bit about our different policies and procedures. What are some of the things that we're doing? Understanding, obviously, that we're on the Hill. There are fraternities, sororities, college students, underage people we just heard about. What are the things that we're going to do to make sure that we're staying vigilant and compliant?
Well, yeah, I mean, we take this stuff very seriously. We have a pretty strict regimen for our staff. They get tested on it, and if they obviously don't pass, they're not serving. But some of we will be obviously checking IDs. We only take pictured IDs. That's state-issued driver's licenses, state-issued state identification, passports, and military IDs. We never, ever accept the vertical Colorado ID. We ID every single person that orders a beverage, 1 drink per person per ID. And, you know, we train our people how to identify fake IDs and intoxicated patrons and all the physical and behavioral attributes that go along with the consumption of alcohol.
And how many drinks can be sold per ID? Meaning I go in with my wife, can I order 2 drinks or do you need to, okay, explain that.
You and your wife would have to present an identification for that order to receive those drinks. So 2 IDs, 2 people, 2 drinks.
Let's talk about some additional resources, ID books, the state ID app. Are we going to be using those?
Yeah, all of the above. I mean, I'll go with this checking IDs, guide. So they all have the, I know they have 2024 copies. We'll be updating those, if not, to the 2025 copies. And we also have the state app, which is always up to date.
And if we have a employee that has a questionable ID, what are they trying to do?
They have to take it to a manager. It's a manager's final discretion whether to serve that patron or not.
What about ongoing training reminders? What are we going to provide?
We constantly train our staff. For one, we do pre-shift before every meal. So there will be, pop quizzes during those times. And then also we require all of our restaurants to do quarterly testing and training as well.
And are all these in the employee handbook? Employees read it, sign it?
Absolutely, they're responsible for it.
And are there job consequences for failing to comply with our policies and procedures?
Absolutely. They'll either, get demoted, suspended, or terminated.
And based on the circumstances?
Yeah, based on the circumstances.
And have you heard from Officer Rex? She does compliance checks and then also enforces the liquor laws. And she mentioned working closely with the Hill. What steps are you taking to work in conjunction and compliance with Boulder PD?
Well, first and foremost, I would love to reach out. Actually, I left Officer Reck a message yesterday. I'd love to be in communication with her prior to us opening this business, because we are new. This is our first college town, so to speak, to open a restaurant. So yeah, I just kind of want to understand everything, all the issues and problems that are happening on the Hill, and comply with those things and get ahead of it.
And did you also direct me to reach out to Officer Reck to induce you to get those lines of communication going?
That is correct, and we spoke about that.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the layout. I believe the board has a copy of the layout. Is that correct? Thank you. If you don't have to go through every table and chair, but why don't you give the authority a rundown on the layout so they know what to expect?
Of course. So you're looking at the documents. You're actually looking at it from Broadway. Our main entrance is actually those double doors from the courtyard. I guess plan north, kind of in the center there. So when you enter the space, you're going to be greeted by a host. And beyond the host, you're going to see a smaller dining room. And that's about 7 tables and 18 seats. To the left, there's an open kitchen. So you have, vibrant tropical wallpapers and really vibrant colored metal decorative screens. So that'll be the smaller dining room. And then you notice to the right after you walk in is the bar area. So there's a full service bar with a couple tables in that area. Those tables are high tops. And then you continue to the right of the bar there, and that's our main dining room, which has about 18 about 18 tables, 70 seats in the main dining room.
We do also have a patio. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you talk about the barriers of the patio outside?
Yeah, the patio is fenced in. We will be seating all of our guests through the host stand. So they'll actually be walking through the establishment and entering the patio from inside the establishment, and then exiting there as well when they're done.
Are you able to see the patio from inside the establishment?
Yep. There's La Cantina doors at that location. So it's either going to be visible by glass doors or in the nice weather that'll be open.
And will we also have staff there specifically assigned to the patio area?
Yeah, there will be a server or servers scheduled designated to that area only.
I'm sorry, so you'll have monitoring on the outside as well as monitoring.
Absolutely. Yep.
Can you talk about alcohol storage?
So the majority, we have 2 areas where we store alcohol on the premises. One is behind the bar.
I apologize. Your audio is really bad again.
Why don't you talk loud, Mr. Eddie, just so they pick you up?
You guys hear me okay? Yep. Okay, so we will be storing the alcoholic beverages at 2 places on site, one being behind the bar, which is not accessible by any of the patrons. And then there is a storage room under lock and key that'll have the, all of our overstock, essentially, before it gets stocked to the bar.
And who has access to
Only management will have access to that room.
Mr. Sandberg, now we can't hear your questions.
I'm down to my last 3. Do we have possession and control of the licensed premises for at least 1 year?
Yes, we're at the very start of our, the lease is a 10-year lease with 2 extensions available after those 10 years.
And did you post the premises as required?
Yes, I did. We'll be open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner service. We will open at 11 a.m. daily and close at 11 p.m. daily.
What is
Hiring has begun. Well, interviews have begun. So we're kind of hoping to start the training and onboarding process around the first or second week of March. And then that process is about 10 days of training, onboarding, staff on staff, soft openings, that sort of a thing. So we like to be open, in March, mid-March. Well, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. And just want you to know that myself, I can speak on behalf of my partners and everybody that's been involved in this project, that we're really excited to be part of the Boulder community and bring some of what we do here to the Boulder residents.
And I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions from the board? Not seeing any. Is there anything else you wanted to present, Mr. Sandberg?
We have no other witnesses. I'd just say I do believe that we've met our burden. There's clearly a need and desire. It's a very responsible and experienced operator that's going into the location, understands how to operate on the hill and what needs to be done. I think will be a good member of the community and would respectfully request that you approve the application.
All right. At this time, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion? Member Califano would move to approve the license.
Member Carr would second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
License approved and good luck. Your build-out's looking good.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you all. And Ms. Kellogg, as always, thank you.
No problem. I'll be in touch as the state approves. All right. We are gonna jump back around here to agenda item. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. To agenda item 8, which is public hearing and consideration of an application filed on November 22nd, 2024 from Fergie's Indoor Golf Inc., DBA The Birdie Factory, 2520 Arapahoe Avenue, Boulder, Colorado, 80302. Andrew Ferguson, 100% owner, sole member, and registered manager, with the premises business mailing address for a new entertainment type liquor license. And I see that Mr. Ferguson is here.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Ferguson. Will anyone else be appearing with you?
No.
Perfect. I will just go ahead and swear you in, and then I'll hand it over to the board. If you will just say your name and spell your name for the record.
Andrew Ferguson, AndrewFerguson, and my home address is 3601 Arapahoe Avenue, Unit 219, Boulder, 80303.
Thank you so much. If you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statement you're about to give before the Beverage Licensing Authority is true and correct?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I will hand it over.
Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to find our procedures so that I can read them in since you're not represented by counsel. Okay. All right. This is a public hearing before the Beverages Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder to determine whether or not the business of Fergie's Indoor Golf, Inc., doing business as the Birdie Factory, for a new entertainment type liquor license, shall be granted or denied. This hearing is conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and the rules of the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder. The purpose of this hearing is to receive information, data, and testimony by interested parties in order to enable this authority to make the findings and to reach the conclusions required to be made by state law as to whether or not the license applied for shall issue. Interested parties are the applicant, residents of the neighborhood under consideration, and the owners and managers of a business located in the neighborhood under consideration. For purposes of determining who is an interested party at this hearing, the neighborhood under consideration is the neighborhood previously defined by the authority. The authority shall make a final determination of the affected neighborhood prior to determining whether the license shall be issued. Any interested party may speak to the question of neighborhood designation as well as the information relevant to the granting or denial of the application. A record is being made of these proceedings. Those who desire to be heard shall identify themselves by stating their name, spelling their last name, and stating their pertinent address. They shall also be sworn in by the board secretary. Is there any ex parte communication or conflict of interest from any of the board members? Member Califano, no.
Member Absalom, no.
Member Card, no.
Member Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
All right, and is there anyone here in the audience that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could please raise your hand. Not seeing anybody. All right, Mr. Ferguson, you may proceed.
Thank you. As stated, I'm Andrew Ferguson on behalf of Fergie's Indoor Golf, doing business as the Birdie Factory, 2520 Arapahoe Avenue, Boulder, 80302. I am 100% owner. It is an S Corp. I'm in good standing with the state. My intention is to open in May of 2025. We currently have a lease. We have our building permits, and we are under construction. I have over 20 years in the alcohol industry. I received my first tips certification training at Liquor Mart here in Boulder. Through a number of different avenues, I was a beer tour guide in Munich. I owned my own non-alcoholic distribution business. I was operations manager of one of the largest Miller distributors in the southern states for 3 years, 2009 to 2012. I was in charge of beer festivals and concerts and over 10,000 people, managed security, servers, all the ID checking. Never had received a liquor violation during that period. Over 10 years ago, I was the general manager at Asher Brewing Company here in Boulder for 3 years. Did all the hiring, firing, and training of all the staff. And during that period, we also never received any liquor violations. My intention is to open an indoor golf training facility. It'll have golf instruction, children's camps, lessons, leagues, memberships, as well as walk-in play. It is full swing golf into like a computer screen where you could see what your shots do. Kind of 3 pillars of the business: improvement, accessibility, and community. So it's for golfers that want to improve their game. It's for people that might be intimidated by the game of golf to come in and try it out in a less intimidating factor, and to build a community around that concept. We are going to sell alcohol to do this. It will include beer, wine, and cocktails. There are 16 draft handles, a small selection of wine, and some signature cocktails that are in today's menu, but subject to change as business develops. No alcohol will leave the premises. There will be no to-go sales. There'll be no alcohol delivery. The liquor storage areas are a few, and they're all locked and not available to the general public. And they include a walk-in cooler that is 6 feet by 14 feet and is behind a double door. There will be storage of liquor bottles in a well, as well as on against a wall with underneath locked cabinets for backup storage. There is an additional side office that is locked that'll have backup liquor storage as well. There are 55 seats in this establishment. We do not have our occupancy yet because we haven't opened, but we're assuming between 85 and 100. There is no patio at this establishment. There are two entry and exit doors. One is public facing to the parking lot. The other is the rear to the alley in the back. And there'll be signage indicating that no alcohol is allowed outside on both doors. Our hours of operation will be 10 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Saturday. On Sunday, it'll be 10 a.m. to 6. This is a very seasonal business, so those will fluctuate with the seasons. Busy in the winter, a little bit slower in the summer, so a little adaptations. We will have food offerings on site that'll focus on charcuterie, granola, chips, and candy, and other prepackaged items. They'll be available during all business hours. And in addition to that, there are 5 restaurants in this establishment or in the complex, notably Flower Child, Kalita Grill, Tiffin's, Pizza Hut, Boulder Fresh Garden Thai. They have all agreed to deliver food for free to my establishment, and their menus will be promoted to all of our patrons so that they can make a choice and I could support my neighbors at the same time. Under the original lodging and entertainment rules, now known as the entertainment license, I understand that less than 50% of my revenue can come from alcohol. I am in contact with a lot of business owners around the country of similar business types. And in discussions with them, the national average is about 20 to 30% of the income of this business type comes from alcohol. So I feel pretty confident that I'm going to fall within that same realm. Although I have been trained on tip certification 2 times, I am expired. So myself and my entire staff will receive that training prior to opening. Prior to the discussion today and last month's discussion with the RAR, my idea was to go with their certified training list. I have been in contact with both Tom Regan Consulting as well as Patrick Maroney and have the capabilities of hiring either of them to train my entire staff. And I'm open to the board's advice today and information on how that might develop or change moving forward. There is a training manual that you should have received in your document. It is a living document. It's already been adapted since you guys had access to it and will continue to be adopted and changed throughout the life of this business. And all the staff will be signing said document when they get hired and when they, anytime anybody else comes aboard. The number of staff is going to be probably like 4 to 6 full-time or more part-time for servers and golf education people. There's also a number of PGA pros that'll be giving lessons. They're all 1099 contract employees. The POS system that we have selected allows for alcohol beverage tracking per customer, so we know how many people are served. I will retain copies of all my business records on site, and they're available for inspection at any time. We will be checking all IDs when the orders are placed. We will not allow people under 21 to be permitted into the facility after 8 p.m. We will not accept vertical IDs. We will not allow expired IDs. It'll be 1 drink per ID. We will have an ID verification book. We are looking into ID scanners, and I know that that has been a discussion with the board as to their efficiency, and as well as the discussion with a lot of the certified trainers. So I'm open to advice on that as well. We most likely will invest in one, but we probably will prioritize individual training as the first line of defense. The staff will be knowledgeable that any violation of policy will result in termination and possible criminal charges. Intoxicated individuals will not be served. New hires will be trained within 30 days, if not prior to starting to serve. There are 8 security cameras that will be installed at the location that'll cover the entire area that alcohol can be consumed by the public. I understand that my liquor license needs to be renewed on an annual basis, and I will make the alcohol orders from wholesale licensed vendors. I did conduct my own petitioning. I did the petitioning on the dates of 1/22, 1/28, 1/30, and 2/2. There were 401 attempted contacts. On the residential side, there were 47 signed, 32 were under 21, 17 refused to sign, didn't really give a reason as to why, and there were 126 people that didn't answer their door. There was one person that wrote in opposed, but their reason for opposition was fun. And they also asked about how expensive golf lessons were and what the cost was associated with golf lessons. So I'm assuming because it was noon on a Sunday, I may or may not have woken them up and or they didn't understand the difference between oppose and favor. I did not catch that happened until about 4 or 5 signatures later. Somebody mentioned it to me. So I can't verify whether they actually meant to do that or not, but I remember having a positive interaction with that individual. There was also one person who signed that was not 21, and I eliminated them from the entire count. On the commercial side, 93 people signed. There were 30 corporations that were not allowed to sign on behalf of their business. There were 34 people that didn't have a manager or anybody above 21 at the establishment, and there were 22 that refused to sign and gave no reason. So out of 140 in favor, 1 possibly opposed, we have 99% that are in favor of this business, which is at a high likelihood that it's needed in this neighborhood. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions from the board.
Great, thank you for that thorough presentation. Are there any questions from the board? Not seeing any. Is there anything else you wanted to present, Mr. Ferguson?
I think everyone needs to like get up and like do some jumping jacks or something. We've been here for like 3 hours. I see some lag going on.
Very
After
much.
me, of course.
All right, well, at this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion?
Member Carr will make a motion to approve this license.
Member Absalom was second.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Ferguson. I must say, great presentation, but just so you know, this is only a drop in the bucket. Califano, how long were we there for the last 12-hour hearing we did one time? So
I believe it was
thank you.
about 12, yes.
Thank you for letting us stretch a little bit, but congratulations and good luck. Great concept, great
Thank you.
presentation.
Yeah. And the policy was
Appreciate you guys.
succinct as well. I appreciated that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate what you guys do. I've attended BLA meetings for over 10 years, just for my own knowledge sake. So, and I've watched everyone for the past couple months just to get prepared. So I appreciate everything you guys do for Boulder.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Sabrina will be in contact with you once she hears back from the state. Okay, let me get everyone where they're supposed to be. Okay, now we're gonna skip back up to agenda items 5. We are on public hearing and consideration of a renewal application filed on November 5th, 2024 from Boulder Pho LLC, DBA Boulder Pho, 2855 28th Street, Boulder, Colorado, 80301. Dwayne Nguyen, manager with a premise business mailing address for a hotel restaurant type liquor license. And I see Mr. Nguyen is here. And while Mr. Nguyen is, excuse me, being promoted and getting settled, licensing will let the board know that this licensee is in good standing with occupation tax, but is not in good standing with sales tax at this time.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Nguyen. Thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for letting me go and back. So yeah, I'm back
no
here
problem.
anyway. So thank you very, very much.
Sure thing. I'm just gonna get you sworn in and then I'll hand it over to the board. Can you please say your name and spell your name for the record?
My name is Duy Huyen Tan Nguyen. That's my full name. D-U-Y. Last name Nguyen. N-G-U-Y-E-N.
And if you'll give an address?
89 Sugar Beach Circle, Longmont, Colorado, 80501.
Thank you. And if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to give before the Beverage Licensing Authority are true and correct?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'll hand it over to the board.
All right, Mr. Nguyen, since you're not represented by counsel, I'm going to go ahead and read the proceedings into the record.
Yes, sir.
This is a public hearing before the Beverage Licensing Authority and the City of Boulder to determine whether or not the application of Boulder Pho LLC doing business as Boulder Pho for a hotel type restaurant liquor license for a renewal of, hotel type liquor license shall be granted or denied. This hearing is conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and the rules of the beverage licensing of the City of Boulder. The purpose of this hearing is to receive information, data, and testimony by interested parties in order to enable this authority to make the findings and to reach the conclusions required to be made by state as to whether or not the license shall be renewed. Interested parties are the applicant, residents of the neighborhood affected by the license as previously determined by the authority, and the owners and managers of a business located within the neighborhood. This hearing shall be limited to the question of whether or not there is good cause to renew the license as set forth in the notice of hearing dated February 19, 2025. A record is being made of these proceedings. Those who desire to be heard shall identify themselves by stating their name, spelling their last name, and stating their pertinent address. They shall also be sworn in by the board secretary. Is there any ex parte communication or conflicts of interest from any of the board members for this agenda item? Member Califano, no.
Member Absalom, no.
Member Carr, no.
Haggerty, no.
Member Roberts, no.
And is there anyone here in the attendees that wishes to speak to this agenda item? Please raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Nguyen, you may proceed.
Thank you, sir.
So this is your time to let us know what the situation is with your license, your sales tax.
Hello everyone. My name is Dewey. I'm the owner of Boulder Pho LLC, doing business as Boulder Pho. So it's just my fault. I was so busy to taking care of everything I have, so that's why I forgot until I realized it and I submitted, and then it's already late. So I've been controlling all this so well. I've never have any violation before, but right now just getting more busy, and so now I just forgot. So, and to fix this and preventing this happening again, I have hiring the consultant company, which is Maroney Consulting Services, to help me to control all of this, to assist me to training and tracking all licenses on premise, and making sure everything is correct and everything is on the track with them. So it's not just an alarm to do this or just a notification on the calendar anymore. I take this step seriously, that I hired a company will help me to take care of this, and to prevent the late things happen like this again. So
And can you speak to your sales taxes not being up to date?
yes, it's already up to date since last Thursday.
Caitlin, do we know anything about that?
We checked with sales tax yesterday, and as of yesterday, it was not up to date, or it was not in compliance. So
I dropped off the check for them on last week, and they said they will put the post day that, which was last Friday or Saturday. I and my brother went to the office and dropped off the check for them to get the account up to compliance.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that is the most recent up-to-date information that we have. We can check again with sales tax tomorrow to see if
Okay.
there is compliance. I don't know that anyone would be there right now for us to check. But the soonest we could check again would be tomorrow.
Okay.
Right, is there any other questions from the board? Not seeing any. Mr. Nguyen, is there anything else you wanted to inform us about?
No, it's just all about it. I dropped the ball, I forgot it, and that's my fault. So
Great, thank you.
thank you very much.
At this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a motion?
Member Absalom, I make a motion to approve the renewal based on a condition that we see that the sales tax is resolved from licensing. Because there seems some ambiguity around that. So once that's resolved.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Sales tax can do a check for me real quick. So you can.
Perfect, thanks.
I'll let you know as soon as they let me know. I think she's working on it, but I'll
All right.
know as soon as she does.
I think we can potentially move forward with the motion that member Absalom had already made, just given that it might be resolved right now.
Okay.
So is there a second for member Absalom's motion?
Yep, member Haggerty seconds. Motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
All right, so Mr. Nguyen, your license is approved on the condition that the sales tax issue is resolved.
And Mr. Nguyen, I did get confirmation from sales tax that you are in good standing.
Perfect. License renewed.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for your patience.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to skip down to agenda item 10. Agenda item 10 is public hearing regarding suspension of BLA Rules of Procedure 3-6. And Chair, I'll ask, is 3 minutes an appropriate time, do you think, is that the preferred time that you would like for each public commenter? Perfect. And I see that we do have a few people in our attendees view. So if you are wanting to make public comment on agenda item 10, which is public hearing regarding suspension of BLA Rules of Procedure 3-6, please go ahead and raise your hand and I will allow you to speak and start a timer. Okay, looks like Mr. Maroney is here. Let me go ahead and share my screen so I can get this timer up. Sorry, give me 1 second. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Okay. Okay, here is the timer, and then Mr. Maroney, go ahead.
I can't see anything but my timer light here, so I'm not sure What, can you guys see me okay?
You can turn on your camera, but you just have permission to talk.
Oh, okay. I got you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Good evening, BLA. I just wanted to chime in to know that I was aware of this issue just recently. I did not monitor the last couple of meetings, and just want to let you know that alcohol beverage training is here to support any member of any license in boulders for training. I know the state is having difficulty, or not difficulty, but it's time getting everybody trained, but we are available to do that. We do have a train the trainer program where people can be trained under our umbrella. And we have actually hired a few people to do that. It's certified by the state to do that. So I just want to make sure that the BLA understood that we're here to support them, and whatever you guys wanted to be part of the discussion on how to make sure we get quality training to all licensees, just not in Boulder, but across the state. We are approved to do this by Zoom as well as in person, and we do both of them. Well, we have several trainers that can do that. We have 2 or 3 weekly classes available through Zoom that people can sign up on our website. But I wanted to find out if the BLA had any questions about our program, what we do, our history, so that we can be partners with the BLA and of course other communities to make sure everybody gets good training. So that's what I just wanted to chime in and say. We're here to help, and any questions you have for us, I'd be glad to answer those.
Great, thank you for that. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Maroney.
Yeah, I know the need for training is definitely out there, and we're here to help provide that. So well versed in the training needs and the expertise in providing that. So yeah, thank you for the time to speak.
Great, thank you, Mr. Roney. Okay, would anyone else like to speak to agenda item 10, public hearing regarding suspension of BLA rules of procedure 3-6? Great, and is there any discussion with the board before I move on?
I guess my question would be, are we voting on this at this point?
Didn't we send it for last hearing for a 3-month or a 90-day, if I'm correct? So I think we have to accept the testimony from the public, and on that agenda 3 months from when we first said it, we have to have a discussion about it. That's my feeling. I don't know if any other members want to say that, but I think we can continue to take any public comment that we can get around this and do our own research around training. This does sound like an ongoing issue, yeah. This is kind of, it's elastic at the moment, and I don't know exactly where to stand, but I think we should continue to take public comment. But I don't, Chair Califano, I don't think we have to actually make any decision around this until the emergency order that we put in place ends, is my personal understanding of the issue.
Great. Yeah, well, I would agree with you in welcoming public comment every hearing.
So in your packet, just to help here, in your packet on page 9 is the actual motion under agenda item 3, if anyone wants to reference that. And then when you said that you wanted to take public comment at every hearing, do you want there to be an agenda item on every hearing, or just some open to it during general public comment?
I think just open to it during general public comment.
That's good. Okay, great. Can we move on to agenda item 11?
Please.
Okay. Agenda item 11 is public hearing regarding the potential change in fermented malt beverage and wine off-premises type liquor licenses. And before I ask for public comment, licensing manager Elisa Darrow is present and she would like to give some background info on this.
Hello, BLA members. So the first thing I wanted to bring up to you is that there is actually no legislation coming forward at this time related to this issue that we're aware of. The city's legislative policy committee does track all bills going through at the state level, and they always send us a heads up whenever there's anything related to liquor. And we are more than happy when we get that information to start including it in your packet for you going forward, whether it's just if you want a short blurb from us or about what it is and maybe a link to where you can find the document or anything like that. But I did want to make you aware that we do have this legislative policy committee. They do monitor and provide official responses on behalf of the city for the city's position. And as a staff member, I do occasionally get asked for staff comments, and those can include from law enforcement, it can include the BLA and other stakeholders.
Definitely think keeping our finger on the pulse of legislation going through would be wise. I don't know if you would necessarily need to attend every hearing, but if you just want to send something that's just an update of, hey, this is what we've heard is being pushed through or what we know is being pushed through, I think that would be very beneficial to have a heads up on that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Yeah, absolutely. Being aware of what's happening at the state level is definitely salient to the job that we do here.
Okay, I can start doing a staff memo for each meeting of anything that's coming up in the legislature for you.
Maybe we should make you attend and we'll put you as the last agenda item.
I think I will be here either way.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Elisa. Great. So I will open it up to public comment. If there's any members of the public here who would like to speak on this matter, go ahead and raise your hand and I will allow you to speak in order of hand raised. Let me get my timer back up here. Okay, I see there's 2 hands raised. And I'm going to start with Mr. Deer King. Mr. Deer King, you should be able to talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, and I'll start your time.
Well, thank you, members of the authority, and for the opportunity, and also for taking on this issue. I know it's unusual for you to be asked to consider a policy matter about something that could happen in the future rather than something that's happening or proposed to happen currently. But that's exactly what this is. If you think back 10 years ago, where was the state of off-premise alcohol in Boulder or in Colorado? And it was that there were 3.2% beer licenses, and there were liquor store licenses, and there weren't any in Boulder, but the possibility of a liquor license, drugstore license, but one license only per owner for liquor license drugstore and retail liquor stores. Since that time, the 3.2% alcohol limit has been removed, and so those licenses can sell fermented malt of any alcohol strength, and there are more and more products coming out. Many of them are like spirits, Fireball and Svedka and things like that, that are mimicking hard alcohol, and they're allowed to be any percent of alcohol. We now have wine being sold in those licenses. And the age to sell alcohol above 3.2% is now 18 with no supervision required. All of those things resulted in harder alcohol and different types of alcohol being sold in a lot more places, offered in a lot more places, and in many cases by younger people who aren't even themselves old enough to buy the product. I think there's a good argument that that hasn't been in Boulder's best interest. Boulder voted against Proposition 125, which was the statewide ballot issue to put wine in all these existing licenses. But as a result of these things happening either at the state legislature or by statewide ballot issue, Boulder lost any local control or any local say in these changes happening in our community. And the chain stores have made it clear that it is their long-term goal to have hard alcohol in all their stores, and that they want to do it with their existing licenses without having to apply and with no local review. I'm asking you all to weigh into City Council as to whether or not you think that would be a good idea, or if you think that if that question is going to come up, that there should be some amount of local control or local review. These changes have been devastating for the independent businesses in our community like mine. I also think they've been detrimental to public health and safety, increased access to alcohol by minors, and other reasons why it's a good idea for Boulder to weigh in. I see my time is up, so I'll conclude here. But I would point out that my reaching out to you started as a recommendation from Mayor Brockett, who said that council would like to hear from the authority, and that in bringing these issues up to council, he suggested that I start with you. So I know Mr. Carr and Mr. Absalom have put a lot of time into this, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate it. And I'm available to answer any questions if I can be of any assistance in your consideration of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deerking.
Thank you so much. Next I see there's a Lauren. I will allow you to talk.
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you. And
Okay.
if you'll just state your name, and then I'll go ahead and start your time.
My name is Lauren Touch. Members of the Boulder Beverage Licensing Authority, thank you for your time. My name is Lauren Touch, and I was the owner of Ginger's Drive-Thru Liquor in Boulder from 2003 to 2018. Our unique location, housed in a former Taco Bell, gave us firsthand and unfiltered perspective on underage alcohol consumption and acquisition that I believe is critical to your current deliberations regarding the potential sale of spirits in grocery stores. While statistics and reports offer valuable data, they cannot fully capture the reality of underage attempts to purchase alcohol. During our 15 years at Ginger's, we witnessed a constant and relentless stream of minors, both high school and college-aged, employing a variety of methods to obtain alcohol. These included the use of borrowed or fake IDs, attempts to convince older individuals to make purchases for them, pooling money for a single purchase, and even shoplifting. These experiences weren't isolated. They were a persistent daily challenge. The sheer volume and ingenuity of these attempts underscored the intense desire of underage individuals to access alcohol, a reality that, in my opinion, far surpasses what any statistical analysis can convey. The pressure on these young people to obtain alcohol is immense, and their resourcefulness in doing so is equally massive. I understand the complexities of balancing public safety with market dynamics. The recent passage of Prop 125, allowing wine sales in grocery stores, has already placed a significant strain on independent liquor stores. These businesses, often locally owned and operated, are vital to the fabric of our community. They offer specialized knowledge, personalized service, and contribute significantly to Boulder's local economy. Expanding the sale of spirits to grocery stores would undoubtedly exacerbate this challenge, forcing many independent liquor stores to close. This would not only impact small business owners, but also reduce the diversity and character of our retail landscape. Furthermore, I urge the BLA to consider the potential consequences of increased accessibility on underage consumption. While grocery stores are a convenient option for many adults, expanding alcohol sales to these venues increases the opportunities for underage access. The sheer volume of customers in the fast-paced environment of a grocery store can make it more difficult to meticulously verify IDs for every alcohol purchase. The recent King Soopers employee strike highlighted the pressures faced by grocery store workers, often struggling with low wages, unfair practices, and demanding workloads. Adding the responsibility of rigorously checking IDs for alcohol sales, especially given the constant attempts by minors to circumvent the system, places further burden on already strained employees. I see my time is up. I'll finish up here. I respectfully request that the BLA recommend to the Boulder City Council against allowing the sale of spirits in grocery stores, protecting the viability of independent liquor stores while simultaneously prioritizing public safety and minimizing underage access to alcohol is a crucial responsibility. My experience at Ginger's provided a unique on-the-ground perspective that I hope will inform your decision-making process. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And last hand raised here, it looks like is someone named Sarah. And Sarah, I've allowed you to talk. If you'll just state your full name, and then I'll begin your timer.
Perfect. Thank you for your time today. My name is Sarah Jarek. I own B-Town Wine and Spirits in Boulder. I have been here as the GM and now owner for about 7 years, and I have over a decade of experience in the industry. As everyone else before me has said, one of the biggest things, you know, aside even from just the local economy, is really public safety here. Like, I hire all of my employees are over 21 years old. As the law states, they're all serve safe or tip certified as well. So we take IDing super seriously. We ID everyone in the group, doesn't matter how many people there are. You know, we just take IDing so seriously. And with grocery stores and potentially liquor in grocery stores, you know, we all know that theft is a big problem. And whereas here, like, you know, we can keep an eye on the door. We have cameras everywhere. You know, we can see, you know, when we think someone underage is in the store and keep an eye on them. That's just not the case at grocery stores because there are people of all walks of life in grocery stores. And the way that grocery stores are set up and how they don't have to have all the alcohol grouped together makes it so easy for young kids to get their hands on, you know, fireball shooters or the buzz balls that are so popular with the youths, or you know, just wine that are sporadically set around the store. And then all the different like hard sodas now, you can go through the self-checkout with a real Mountain Dew and scan that and get away with having a hard Mountain Dew. And just there's so many, as the gentleman before me, Lauren, was saying, so many in like genius ways of young adults getting alcohol. And then further than that, I will never pretend that we don't deal with addictive substances. I really preach moderation in all things. I have, in part, I'm getting over a cold, so please bear with me. I have different substance abuse pamphlets that I can hand out to people that are dealing with substance abuse disorders, you know, and having potentially recovering addicts going to the grocery store and seeing hard alcohol, you know, they don't have to go in a a liquor store, but they have to do their grocery shopping. So between dealing in again, like a very addictive substance, and people are trying to better their lives and keeping it out of the hands of the younger generation, I just don't think it's a good idea going forward. And then we have, like everyone else has said, with Proposition 125 passing, we've seen a big decline in business. You know, I donate to schools and the arts and different charitable organizations in town and really try to become like part of the fabric of the society here, and really just become a place for community. And that just feels all very endangered. And so with that, as well as the public safety issue, I would just encourage you to use your judgment on as these issues come available. I know there's a Senate bill kind of working its way through Colorado. Currently, it's Senate Bill 33 that deals with these issues. There was a hearing, I believe, in the last couple of weeks about that. So you can see those notes as well. But thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to give public comment on this issue? If so, please raise your hand at this time. Anyone else who would like to give public comment? Okay. I don't see any other hands raised. And would the board like to have any more discussion about this?
I think we just go back to what Member Absalom said and just continue to get the public comment.
Okay. I will move on to agenda item 12, and that is matters from Deputy City Attorney. Roberta, did you have anything?
I do not. Thank you for asking. Unless there are some questions about the procedure that will occur upon the Chicken on the Hill getting the order hopefully tonight. Does not appear so. All right, thank you.
Actually, I might have one. Apologies. It's just gonna be like a show cause hearing, correct?
Correct. The biggest difference is that you will have the allegations ahead of time as to what the city is going forward on and what they'll have to prove by preponderance of the evidence. And I see that Elise is on.
Only if anyone has questions for me.
Perfect. Thank you both. We will move on to agenda item 13. There was one boundary setting on your agenda, but that application has been withdrawn. So we do not need to do the boundary settings for that. No transfers, no sales rooms. You have your special events and your renewals in your packet. And the only thing that licensing has for you is that we are at the end of board recruitment. We did have 2 applications for 2 open seats, which is exciting. So we did one interview earlier today, and then we'll do another interview for the second applicant. I believe it's sometime next week. And then city council will, if they're going to appoint any of those applicants, they will be appointing on March 20th. So I'm devastated truly to say that that will be Member Absalom and Member Califano's last hearing is March 19th. So that's kind of the timeline on that. If they don't appoint both of the applicants, then we can kind of talk about what that would look like. So I will keep you guys posted on that, but I just want to say thank you guys so much for all that you've done. And I've been here for 5 years and you've been here for longer than that. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, looking like March 19th will be your last one.
So you two aren't the applicants?
I'm not. I don't know about Member Absalom.
I applied for both of us, Matt. I applied for you. We're actually another 4 years coming up.
Nice.
4 more years.
Caitlin, were any of them male or female? Well, were any of them, I'd say.
One is male, and I believe the other one is female. But Elisa can correct me if I'm wrong about that.
So just to talk about that real quick, if city council were to not appoint one or the other, would either Matthew or myself would have to continue on, right? To continue with the board.
I don't believe that you would be required. We would have a quorum if only one was appointed. And actually, technically, we would have a quorum if neither one of them was appointed. So it would not be required, but I believe that we would be able to give you either one of you the option to continue on. I don't know how city council chooses what seat to appoint in. I would assume it would be the oldest seat would be appointed first. So Member Absalom, your seat would be appointed first, and then Member Califano, yours would be next.
When
All right.
city council makes their appointments, they actually in their motion will state which applicant is appointed to which seat for what term.
Oh, okay. And what's the timeline on that? The 20th, you said, of March? All right, sounds good to me.
Okay. Great. So I'll keep you guys updated on that after that happens. And that is it. So now we're on agenda item 14, which is matters from chair and members of the authority.
Don't really have anything. I mean, we've had longer hearings, but is it just me or did that one feel really long?
That one was a doozy. Yes.
It felt unexpected with the chicken on the hill component, I think. I think we all kind of got a little bit, even reading through that, it just felt like you kind of got smacked in the face with that one because that was just we can deliberate about that down the road on the 5th, but God, that was a lot to process because we didn't see any sworn affidavits on any of those things. We got presented with all that information just in testimony today. So that's a lot to process. And we'll obviously have our opportunity on the 5th to ask some questions about that. But yeah, I think that's what made it to me, Matthew, that's what made me feel like, oh my gosh, that was like took everything to a whole new level because just processing the amount of things that are happening at that particular licensee, I was like, I felt like harrowing, it felt emotionally hitting me when I was listening to that testimony. And I'm sure everyone else on the board probably felt the same way because that was like a lot. But it did feel that long. We've done a lot of long ones together, Matt, but that was long. That felt long. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I actually had one other thing. I wanted to say we didn't schedule a board retreat, which we typically do, I think, in March. So what were the plans for that? Thought on that?
Thank you so much for bringing that up. I was planning on asking what the retreat would look like once the new board members have been appointed. So, after they've been appointed in April, I was going to put it on the agenda. If you would like to talk about it in March with the members that will be here, unfortunately, I won't know by that on March 19th, who they're appointing because they're doing it the day after. But if you want to, I can put a little agenda item on there if you want to start thinking about it. Or it's also good for the 3 board members that for sure will be here if you want to start thinking about dates. We typically do them in June or July, and I am open to those dates or whenever you think will work for you. And we typically do them in person. I think member Haggerty might be the only one who wasn't here for the last one, but yeah, so that's how we do it. So that is a good point, member Carr, and I was planning on talking about that in April after you have your new board members.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
I will go ahead and again with my motion to adjourn. But before I say that, you should take the retreat to Telluride or Aspen next year, maybe.
Yeah.
When me and Matthew are off the board, you guys should do something crazy in a hotel or a resort. It'd be great.
Go big.
Member Absalom making a motion to adjourn.
Member Carr will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Haggerty, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
We are adjourned at 6:20 p.m.
Thank you.
Night.
Thanks, everyone.
Stay warm, all right?
Everyone.
Thanks, guys.